Hi, everybody on YouTube. What is going on? Guess what? We have a great show for you tonight. Man, am I really pumped up about this one. You know why I'm pumped up? Let me tell you. Eric Mitchell and I literally planned an interview 6 years ago, and it just never got off the ground. But here he is. I got to meet him face to face in San Francisco last year. He is one of the really good dudes. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He hates the media, hates the press that goes along with it, understands his role, but we are getting into real experience tonight, and real experience that has gone as far as attracting Ivy League type scientists who are looking into his phenomena and taking it very seriously. We are very lucky to have him here. Before we bring Eric on, let's give a shout out. Let's do the roll call here, everybody. Mike L is in the gold medal position. Cloudy takes home silver. James Horn with the bronze. Speeding up in fourth is Race Fan. Mr. Duff, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Alaska's greatest athlete, the gorgeous Emily Bigelow is here, everyone. Andrew, you're looking gorgeous tonight while you're trucking away. Give your horn a honk for us if you don't mind. We'd really appreciate that. All right, let's continue on. Brian and Raztaz, good to see you. Dirt Road, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. The gorgeous Simply Coco, she's on the red wine tonight and has invited us all over after the show for a little wine tasting adventure. Ooh, she is ready to party tonight. Kings of Kvist, good to see you, my friend. Randy Spurl and the lovely Lauren, how are you? Brett Lewis is here, which means we could officially start the show. Hello, Paul Holland in New Zealand. How's tomorrow looking? Please give us an update if we are alive. Peace Angel, a.k.a. Ange from Australia. She's looking gorgeous tonight as well. Jurassic Joey is here, everyone. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio. Joining Joey signing autographs will be Ed Claytor. He'll be on the left. Make sure you only use a gold Sharpie for Ed. He only signs in gold Sharpie. Howard and the Michael Leger. I got to show you what Michael Leger got. I got it in the mail yesterday. He created a Dave Scott gnome. Look at that. A Dave Scott gnome with the SOR here. You got the microphone right here. How awesome is this? I got this yesterday. This is not leaving the studio. It is right there, and he sent a real lovely card. Thank you, the Michael Leger. Really appreciate that, man. That is just so cool. Way too cool. Howard and Sultry Susie, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Steve Stockton, it's always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. As we scroll on down, the lovely Susan in Edmonton, Joshua and Chill Farmer here. Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. Oh, there she is, everyone. Signing autographs down the center line tonight will be the lovely and talented Jenster. Ken in Dallas, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. The X Quest. That was a great article on Bigfoot, by the way. Thanks for sharing that with me, man. Beef Stew, good to see you. Z Hut, you haven't been here in a while, man. How have you been? Let us know. Millennium, thanks for coming on in, man. Spookles, the awesome cat. My great social media person. She is the best. I want to give her a big hug one day. I really do. Dirty Filth, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. The gorgeous and talented Amy Vegas O is here. Give us a wave, Amy, if you don't mind. We'd appreciate it. Bigfoot Rob and Mary Bone. She's a vegetarian. Mary Bone, Mary Bone, Mary Bone. Oh, look who it is. I can't believe she's back, everyone. The stunning Stephanie Jackson. There she is. Gorgeous Helena, good to see you. Uncle Dale and his Power Stash. Everyone, make sure you rub Uncle Dale's Power Stash for good luck. It does work on even days, and today is an even day. All right, moving on. Jason Hotop, good to see you. Bigfoot Rob, I think I said you already, but we'll say it again because we can. Greg Moyes, good to see you. Joe Smith, Cat the Awesome Kit, you're looking lovely tonight. How are you, my friend? James Smith, good to see you. Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, you need to. It is awesome. Randy Spurl, Grandmaster. My brother Eugene, how are you guys? Aiden, good to see you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Typical Watch, nice to have you here. Justin Ruocco, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Project Blue Book and Murray F., how you guys doing? Greg Moyes, good to see you. Virgil, good to have you back, man. Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. Hey, Tristan, 5900. Rye, Michael Estuca, thanks for joining us. Ed Clater, thank you for kicking off the super chat. I really do appreciate your love and support of this show. Nucker, I appreciate you coming on in, buddy. Zach Martin, good to see you. I think I am almost caught up as we are ready to launch this show here in about 25 seconds. Hi, Nikki. How are you? Oh, we got a few seconds here. So, Sherry Knight, you're looking lovely tonight. UFO Not, good to see you. Devin from Politically or Poetically Mistaken. Pol Pot, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. J.R. Hodge, welcome to our channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. A good way. Cable Guy Matt is here, everyone. There it is. There's my cable. You can get a free piece of coaxial cable. Just buy a shirt from us, damn it. Let's do a show right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show and our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Oh, tonight's going to be a good one. In 2013, Eric Mitchell was just a simple Southern man struggling as a single father. Having never believed in the UFO subject, Eric woke up one morning to find a craft. Yes, a craft. Right outside of his house, in his yard. He walked out, was face to face with this anomaly. Since that morning, many things have happened to him. As an investigator into his own experiences, Eric has recorded all of the data. He now spends most of his time working with experiencers who are dealing with suicide and trauma because of the events. Now, Eric is also under his own studies, and you guys are going to be blown away by him. And the one thing I'm very thankful about with Eric, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't want to be a front man for this. He's chosen to come on our show because he's got to know me. He's got to know this show. He trusts us. He knows we're going to put him in the right direction. So we're very glad that he is here. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I'm going to go over to Vancouver. Well, I'm not leaving the studio, but we're going to shoot up and hook up with the shift in Vancouver with Shane, and we're going to talk some UFOs. Then we got the Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Eric Mitchell. Literally, we have been working on this interview for 6 years. Finally, it is here, my friend. I am so glad that you have chosen to come on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a long 6 years. You know, I've been on the road quite a bit, chasing things down. You know, boots to the ground type of thing. You know, not YouTubeology, but actual, you know, putting your hands on things. So I'm tired. I'm back home. Glad to be, and putting weight back on.
I want to ask you something. You don't do a lot of interviews, yet,
No.
and we're very thankful that you're here to do this one. Why do you not do a lot of interviews?
Well, you know, I tend to try to manage my time. You know, if someone's suicidal, you know, there's organizations all over the world that put my name out for people that their worldview is just absolutely changed, and they go into suicide. You know, why do interviews instead of helping these innocent people? You know, so I've got to manage my time. And, you know, I always tell people manage your distractions well, because there's so many distractions around this subject. You can't get to the truth, So I try to, idolize my time in a way where it's most effective.
I understand that, but is it a dislike for the fringe media or those podcasters or YouTubers out there?
Well, sure, sure. I mean, through psychology, sociology, disinformation, this creates a pool for people to get lost, people to become narcissistic. It creates so many negative types of things. I believe, places like your own, what we're here to do right now is an amazing thing, but not all people have the same integrity as Dave. You know what I mean? So it becomes a cesspool, it becomes a mess, and it doesn't have the integrity that it should. It's just unfortunate, but that's how it is these days.
Now, for you, and we're going to get into your experience that happened at the bottom of the hour after our commercial break. For you, when you look at the UFO world, you've now almost 8 years into this. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it?
Man, I've met a lot of great, genuine people, a lot of wonderful people, and I've also met the other side where when the cameras are off, they're not so nice, But I believe, you know, and I can almost touch it when you back up and look at it as a whole. That this is social engineering, whether people are willingly and knowingly being a part of it, or they're just, catching wind of how they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to act in this sphere. So they cohere to that instead of themselves and their own integrity. So, just with anything that's highly classified or um, they don't want to be touched on, they create a social sphere in which people can react inside the sandbox, which obviously, if you look into it long enough, you can see how it all works. So I try to stay away from, the whole ufology thing and keep on trying to find the science behind this, the people that are affected, boots on the ground, and show a little compassion towards people that are oftentimes called crazy for telling the truth.
Now, recently, you have been filming a documentary with good friends of this show in Joe and Ben from UFO Garage. And, don't you just wish the entire field of ufology was like those two guys?
I do. I do. I think they should be abruptly pushed to the top and and followed because these guys are real. They're genuine. Uh, they're they've got so much energy toward positivity around this whole thing, and that's the way it should be. It really is. And these guys are great. I mean, they're working around the clock, trying to get the truth out, which is pretty amazing. I'm happy to know them.
Yeah, me too. And we try and get them on our roundtables that we do all the time here. And I'll tell you, they are just I can't speak highly enough of those two young gents who literally, they're not really experiencers, they're not researchers, they're just two dudes who have a love of two things or three things: their family, their music, and their UFOs and the weird stuff. And they're just so thankful that they are in the position that they're in. I mean, they are a bright breath of fresh air and a fresh breath of fresh air as well. And I just can't say enough about them. UFO Garage, by the way, if you want to sign up for their YouTube channel, I highly suggest you do. Eric, for you going into this filming a documentary, can you let any secrets out about what it's going to be about?
Yeah, yeah, I can let out quite a bit. We just discussed having someone from Area 51 to be interviewed on there. We're not going to do the typical thing where we have a lot of generals and stuff like that. Look, I've talked to a lot of these people, and yeah, it is very interesting. But I think the sites need to be turned toward the quintessential experiencer. What you and I, Dave, hide in an everyday basis, at the grocery store and our everyday life. We live this type of duality where we can't live a large portion of ourselves. And I want to dig deep and past that and get below the surface and really show what it's like. And of course, we want to go into neuroscience, how all this stuff works. I don't think anything has been figured out so far publicly on that. So that's really important to, speak on. And really advocate a lot of these people for, their experiences. They're saying, there's this blue light that comes into their window at night, and next thing you know, they're unconscious. They wake up the next morning. They have no idea what happened, but they're going through a lot of anxiety. This blue light happens to be a very significant thing. It's not a woo-woo type thing. It's a very scientific process that's going on here. Your brain is pretty much wired, for 7 hertz of the electromagnetic field in a very, very small spectrum. And that's what we relate to as consciousness. Now, if spooky action at a distance or quantum entanglement were to happen, it would be on the electromagnetic field spectrum. So therefore, you have a download or a connection right off the bat at a distance with this blue light, i.e., missing time, screen memories, everything like that. And the quintessential experiencer, we're putting out 30 hertz instead of 7, which really shows that there's some kind of interaction there.
How long did it take you to accept the fact that you were an experiencer?
A very long time, very long time. I still struggle with it. I spent 34 years of my life thinking people that believed in UFOs were absolutely crazy. Um, During the beginning, the first 3 times this object showed up, I wanted to believe it was anything but that. I mean, this thing was a 40-foot in diameter orange glowing sphere. I mean, it looked like the sun just rippling. My idea at the time of a UFO was obviously, a silver disc in a 1950s film. So I even had pictures, witnesses, statements of police officers come out, all this stuff going on, and I still wanted to believe it wasn't happening. I mean, I was wired my whole life not to accept it.
Yeah, and I think that's a tough one for a lot of people to make. And Eric, when you go around, whether it's to conferences or the grocery store or the gas station or the library, wherever you may go in your daily life or life, pardon me, do you or have you had the opportunity to just sit down, look at people, and just watch the way they're acting, and you're like, that person's an experiencer,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. The work that I do, Dave, it's constant. Maybe 1 to 10 new people a day, and for not being an organization, working alone and understanding an organization can implode in on itself. I've always worked alone, so I spend a lot of time going from one person to the next, and going back to people from the beginning, just to cross reference. And so it becomes, instead of an intellectual thing, it's more of a phonetic situation where you can pick up on it really quickly.
What are some of the signs that you notice on people? Let's say you're at a restaurant or a lounge or a bar and you're just sitting back having a drink and a cigarette or whatever you may be doing, and you look at someone and you just have that energy that you can't stop looking at them. When you have that, how do you know that that person has experienced something?
That's really not an observational type of thing. I don't think it's more of a what they would say an energy connection. I've heard people use that term, but the quintessential experiencer who has really been affected, physically affected, and they really wouldn't know. Of course, you go through the mental change, but when you look at the brain, you see the putamen and basal ganglia side by side in the right hemisphere, and it's white hot. In the beginning, I mean, it just looked like it was dead tissue, but now we know it's highly active, white hot. Um, I believe Stanford calls this area of the brain in the experiencer alone, not in the cohort of other people that didn't have experiences, but experiencers alone have this highly active antenna, is what they're calling it. It's spread out, it's malignant, and it's highly active. Um, it's believed that these non-microtubules in this area of the brain are non-local, and we're able to pick up on each other that way, just as if contact was happening, from an outside race.
So for you, as you look at someone, are there little outside of the mental capacity, are there little nuances that you can pick up on that maybe you didn't know how to pick up on when you before you were an experiencer?
Oh, absolutely. I believe back in the day they would call that extra sensory perception, and now Stanford's calling it the antenna. Let's see what Harvard has to say when we're done with that study, because we're going to go ahead and take Stanford, their work, and we're going to, up the scale and make the broader arrangement within Harvard to really look at it closely. But Einstein's quantum entanglement seems to be more of a natural biological thing than anything.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Well, you know what? Let's just get into it. Let's get into your experience. Let's go back to 2013 because I was trying to hold off here, man, but I just can't do it. I'm too excited. I'm too excited here. 2013. You're a normal guy. What were you doing before all this stuff happened?
I was, single father. I was a regional alcohol, drug, and detox specialist, and I also worked in a kitchen part time, to cover the bills. Um, a pretty simple dude, really. I didn't, I certainly didn't even know how to spell quantum physics at the time. Um, yeah, it was just I loved my football and my television and worked most of the time. Simple life.
So here you are, normal guy, don't believe in UFOs. Think people who do are usually the late night gas station attendants who work the night shift, no dental plan, never made more than minimum wage, just like every journalist on this planet. All right. So, what happened? Take us back to that day in 2013.
Well, I think you got maybe have some of the bio a little bit wrong. I actually woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was standing just outside my front door. My left shoulder was facing the front door. My right shoulder was facing basically where I thought my attention was at. And in that confusion of waking up and realizing you're outside, it took a second, but I realized this big orange glow over my right shoulder. Um, and I turned to look at it, and immediate confusion. I had no idea what this thing was. I mean, it was just hovering off the street. It was a short dead end street. I could have taken off my shoe and hit this thing. It was really pretty close. And it, you know, my brain would just go through so many different explanations of what in the world I was looking at. If you see something that is completely outside of your vocabulary, or understanding, your brain kind of rapid fires on excuses of what you're looking at. But what bothered me the most is it was so bright, rippling like water. It did look like a miniature sun, um, and it just didn't light up the whole neighborhood like it should. It was bright, but nothing around it was illuminated, which you don't have to be a physicist to know that doesn't make any sense. So it was, it really bothered me. It didn't bob, it didn't weave, it didn't move at all. That morning, it just stayed in place. So I figured by the time the sun came up, I'd be able to find my illusion, light bouncing off of this made this happen, optical illusion type of thing. But by first light, it was gone. So I had no idea what it was.
How long did that incident happen for?
Let's see, around 4 o'clock in the morning. I stayed out there for about 20 minutes. I think it said like 4:19 on the clock when I came in. I brewed coffee. I kept the door open, and I would sit at the edge of the couch and just kind of lean my body and look, and it's still being there. Once I went for another cup, the sun was starting to come up, and I got excited about seeing this in the light, and it was gone. So I didn't see it leave. Later on that night, we're going from like 4 o'clock in the morning all the way to 9:30 that night. So I had went to work, came home, homework with the kids, Pixar film, and I went out for my nightly smoke about 9:30. And I'm pacing the one-story apartment and having a cigarette, and I'm looking in that area thinking, wow, that must have been ball lightning. I should have took a picture. I should have woke up the kids. And this darn thing turns on really slowly. Like, you hit a light bulb and the light is immediately on, but this thing slowly just came on.
Again,
Um,
for a second time.
yes, and then it started moving, maybe 2 miles an hour tops. It would slowly dim completely out and come right back on very slowly. And it would do this in a horseshoe type shape, going all the way around the tree line and eventually over my apartment and over my head. At that point, it might have been 10, 12 feet from my forehead. I was frozen. My knees couldn't move, and this is not frozen because I was hit by a galactic beam or whatever. I was frozen in fear because that's how my brain works. I was frozen in fear. I could not believe what I was looking at. This thing flashed twice very quickly and shot away like a bullet, and I mean gone within a flash. Now I kind of braced myself a little bit because I was waiting for a sonic boom, and I was also waiting for air displacement. Something that large taking off that fast, you're going to hit the ground with air displacement alone, much less some kind of shock. So neither one happened, and that really bothered me. I got in the door, with my legs still stiffened up, and got to the couch, and I pulled up my daughter's computer. I still, to this day, I'm terrible with computers, but I really wanted to find out. So I spent, maybe up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to Google what the heck I was looking at. And really all I found was conspiracy theories and crazy people stuff.
This ball of whatever it is, you say was 12 feet away from you. Give us a
hmm
description of what it looked like.
Well, I wish I could have maybe sent you a picture so we can put it on screen, but it's orangey, fiery orangey, reddish color. Um, bits of green within the waves that it would move. But yeah, it just really, just rippled there. It rippled all over the place, completely spherical. And I mean, I think that's the best description I could really give. I mean, people that see solid craft, they can say, well, there are three pipes over here, but this thing was just, and, the Pentagon talks about that low visibility being one of the, major things to look for. If you've got perfect visibility, you're probably not looking at one of these objects.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So here you've got
It,
this orange orb that is swirling, inside of it. Correct?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have been locked onto this with your eyes trying to take it all in, and just your brain must have been going crazy at that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really wanted to believe it was some sort of military application. Um, Gosh, even talk myself into thinking I had some sort of delusion. I mean, your brain fights this stuff. It does not want to accept it. And, that's the major thing I find in all experiencers is we all have a certain level of cognitive dissonance. We don't want it. We don't want to fight our own mind over this because we have society telling us, you're nuts if you believe or talk about these things, but it happened. It's true. So, your brain tends to fight itself all the time. But when we get around each other, we can drop that shroud and just be okay. But yeah, it's a very difficult thing to overcome. And like I said, I'm still working on it. I go to the mall and see these people with fanny packs on, and they're talking about the movie they just saw, and they're completely submersed in the born and bred consumerism of society. That there's literally nothing outside that, and I stand outside that, and I watch them. I live in a different place now, consciously.
I know the feeling, my friend. I know the
I,
feeling. And
I know.
we'll get into we'll share some stories here when we come back. Eric, I'm going to get you to hold on as we are going to go to a break here at the bottom of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. What's it like to experience ET contact, extraterrestrials, UFOs? Eric Mitchell is here with us tonight to describe it all. And when we come back, we're going to learn about that and what it's like to see something up close and personal that the human mind cannot explain. ET Contact, next, with Spaced Out Radio and our guest, Eric Mitchell. I'm gonna tell you, dude, that normally I try and wait to get to the good stuff. I couldn't hold out. I couldn't hold out. And you know what's funny, Eric, is when you said that um, you immediately ran inside, grabbed your daughter's computer, and
Hmm.
started looking things up. When I saw the black triangle hovering over my house, I did that exact same thing night after night, and I was so pissed off that none of the triangles that were on Google looked anything like what I had seen that night. And
Was
I'm,
it was it a really big one or
oh yeah,
like football field size?
no, not that night. This one, it started off. First off, hi Anne Celine, you're looking gorgeous tonight. And all the way from Australia, we have Ozzy's sister, who's looking absolutely Aussie-rific tonight as well. So thank you. No, what happened with us is I actually at about 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock that night, I was living in Mission, British Columbia, and I called some friends over and I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing tonight?" Because it was a weekend night, and I think it was a Friday or Saturday. And they're like, "Oh, not much." I said, "Why don't you come on over?" I got one of those little fire pits that you could put on your patio, and and so I had the fire going. I said, "Why don't you come on over, you and the wife? I got the fire pit. We'll have a fire." Thank you, Science Bob, for the super chat, along with Brett and Ed Clador. Really appreciate the love, guys. Thank you. And
Science
anyway,
Bob.
sorry about that. I jump around quite a bit. And I said, "Why don't you guys come on over? We'll have a beer and we'll have a fire on my patio and we'll watch some UFOs fly over." And they're like, "Really? UFOs?" And my buddy Chris says, "What do you mean UFOs?" I said, "I just got a feeling." And then that night, it was about 9:30 at night where we saw this orange rod with two silver orbs, so it looked like an old school dumbbell, and it flew from southeast to northwest. And my friends were like, "How did you know that was going to happen?" I said, "I have no idea. No idea." I said, "But I have a feeling we're not done yet." And
That's it.
20 minutes later, dude, you know when you're taking a drink from a bottle of beer and you kind of tilt your head back? I tilt my
Hmm.
head back and I look and something catches my eyes above me. And I look up and I said to my friends, I said, "What the fuck is that?" We're off the radio show right now, so I can talk like that. And my friends are like, "What?" And I pointed up to the air and I just kept on F this, F that. And there above us, absolutely silent in the sky, was a black triangle, and the entire undercarriage was lit up by orange rods connected by silver
Hmm.
orbs.
Yes.
And I was like freaking out. And it flew north behind us. It flew north, and it was like a door opened in the sky, and it slowly started to disappear from the front tip all the way to the back until it was gone.
Oh, Dave, I got a video I got to show you. I filmed uh, something very similar. I was
Oh God,
lucky.
I gotta see that, dude. I gotta see
Here's
that.
this. It was a big triangle. It was lit up, and here's these balls detaching from the bottom of it, and it would shoot out the
Hmm.
back of it. Maybe 50 feet, and it would slowly curve and go straight up into the sky. And they would sit there like stars, just sitting there like stars. You wouldn't know the difference if you didn't
Wow.
see them.
Oh, dude, I look forward to that.
But here's this 6'5" military man from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, did 2 terms there, good friend of mine, and he's crouched behind me, and he's got a full handful of shirt and a full handful of chair, and he's got this high-pitched voice saying to me, "Oh my god, Eric, oh my god." He was scared out of his mind.
Yeah. My
And
friend's
and,
my friend's wife was like that too. She was cowering on my patio because she grew up Catholic and she was throwing Hail Marys everywhere.
wow.
Oh,
But
dude.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can get used to, but,
Oh, yeah.
I've I've lived in a lot of neighborhoods now, I think I've moved about 6 or 7 times, and
Hmm.
every single neighborhood has been,
Active.
uh, yeah, very disturbed. The last place I just moved from, a neighbor was a preacher,
Hmm.
and I caught him burning his own religious books in the backyard after an incident, and he quit preaching.
1 second here. We're on in 10 seconds. Thank you, Holly, Science Bob, Brett, and Ed for the super chats. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with The Experience, an alien experience with Eric Mitchell. Now, Eric doesn't do a lot of interviews on this topic, but he's chosen us tonight because he's got some words that we're going to learn about. Eric, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you coming on in. Now, right before the break, we started learning about your experience, about this orb that showed up one morning at 4 o'clock, and then it was there later on in the day, almost like it had been waiting there for you to get back from work or wherever you had gone. And I got to ask you, in regards to when you saw this, did you think at that time that it was alien descent?
Oh gosh, no, absolutely not. I mean, that was the last thing on my mind. It really wouldn't be in the vocabulary. That's something that no, I had no idea what it was. But at that point, that morning, it was a thing. That evening, I had talked myself into believing it was maybe a ball of lightning or something. I had some sort of an answer, but when it showed intelligent control, it just blew my mind, Dave. I mean, my little world just exploded because I, I I couldn't fathom what it was, and it definitely wasn't going to be a UFO in my mind. Because here's this orange, fiery ball, looking like plasma. That wouldn't be, in my mind whatsoever as a UFO.
It's unbelievable. And, for people who haven't experienced it, or experience the phenomena that up close and personal. What went through your body and your mind while you're staring at this orb of light 12 feet away from you?
I think the best I can say is the most fear and the most curiosity combined equally in my being, my very being, that I've ever had in a lifetime combined. It
Really?
was just, yeah, I mean, your body freezes up because you're scared. Imagine, just walking through a little patch of woods and then all of a sudden a silverback's in front of you. You freeze up, your whole body freezes. Whether you like it or not, your body's going to freeze up. So it was kind of that feeling. When a ferocious dog gets too close to you and you draw your elbow up, just out of, your natural ability. I mean, that kind of thing happens. But yeah, it's just the curiosity was overwhelming, but the fear was also there, overwhelming me too. So uh, I just didn't want it to be real. I had my life figured out, and that was a big changer for me. The very next day, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, and I really can't go after it scientifically quite yet, but my water pump had gone out in my car.
I'm not going to lie. Your
And
dog just scared the daylights out of me barking there. That is awesome. I literally jumped, man. I literally just jumped.
yeah, I think, yeah, he's protective. You have pets as well. I do apologize about that.
Oh, no
I'll take.
worries. No worries. Dogs are
Uh,
allowed on this show.
oh, they are.
Yeah.
They are. That's great. he'd probably want to take the mic. But yeah, the third incident was, the most terrible for me. I mean, because of this incident, I literally had, still have to this day night terrors, signs of PTSD. Naturally, being under investigation, I've done, full psychological evals for, the past 8 years. But they still won't give me PTSD. I'm like, look, doc, just give me the check. Everybody else gets one, but they think I'm well-rounded enough to deal with it. But the PTSD definitely came in at that point where my water pump was out. Dan from Wright Patterson, my buddy, was helping me with it. We figured out it was the expensive part, the water pump itself. And he handed me a beer, and he noticed that I was kind of having a hard time. He knew me to the point where he knew I never had anxiety. That anything that came my way, I was going to be able to handle it. So he knew something was wrong, and he figured it was a single dad problem. Handed me a beer. I put it on the hood of the car, and big man hug. Things will get better. And he went on to go inside and eat dinner with his wife. And I felt, I reached for that beer, and while I reached back, I untied my shoelace, standing on the darn thing. So I knelt down and I started to feel this rumble on the top of my head. And it was if in seconds somebody turned up the volume all the way. I mean, you've been in front of like a rock and roll speaker
Yeah,
where you
oh
feel
yeah,
that vibration in your chest.
many
Can you
times.
imagine that? Yeah, if you can imagine that times a million, directed straight at your head. I went the rest of the way to the ground. Um, there, the only thought I could really push through my brain is, "Oh my God, I'm being killed," because it just came on so fast and so hard. I felt my body rocking back and forth as if someone was holding a giant magnet over my body. I just felt like I was scooting more than rocking because it would, rub my pants leg. I was so immersed that I knew I was throwing up, but the only way I knew that was my throat was open for a long period of time. So, if you can imagine all of your attention being taken away from yourself and only knowing that you're throwing up because your throat's open for a long period of time. It was maybe 10, 15 seconds. I pushed myself off the ground and I looked up, and the object was above my head, and it flashed twice and shot off. So I laid there for about 20 minutes. Now, at this point, I'm scared of the sky, but I'm also scared of moving, because if I move and something detects me, I'm in trouble. All I need to do is strategically find a way to my front door, and somehow that deadbolt's going to lock me in, and I'll be safe. Yeah, after 20 minutes, I got into the apartment, I hit the deadbolt, and I went straight into the bathroom. I mean, I was burning up really bad. And like when you're 21 years old and had too much to drink, I didn't drink that night. I was going after a beer, but I didn't have it. I laid down on that cold floor, and it felt so good, and I just straight passed out. I woke up the next morning around 5:30, and I was covered in blood. My nose had been bleeding. My left ear had been bleeding, and I had vomit all over me. And I crawled in the shower fully dressed, and turned the shower on and just laid there, until the water ran out. Um, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
So, do you think you were taken?
I do. I don't know within those three instances. I mean, waking up outside is a questionable thing. I mean, it could have been sleepwalking. But later on down the road, when things got more heated up, I think, I did wake up one morning with my daughter screaming. And at that point, I was sleeping on the couch. I had flashlights. I had a loaded 380 under my pillow. I was ready for anything that came through that door. I mean, that's how terrified I was. There were so many things going on. High strangeness, you know about that, Dave, where electronics are turning on and off, light bulbs are popping. Um, it's almost like being haunted, And so I run in my little girl's room, and she's screaming, sitting up in bed. And the next gasp of air, you could tell she was trying to scream, and you can see her tongue move, but nothing was coming out. I mean, she was terrified. And she had holes, like not bug bites. I mean, this is a person would first think that, but when you see the pictures, I mean, these holes were so big and deep in her arms, just from the elbow to the shoulder cuff. And you can fit a drop of water in each one of them. And I stopped counting at 178. But before I started counting anything, and her trying to scream with her mouth open but couldn't, she pulled her finger out and touched my arm. And I looked down at my arm, and there were holes in my arm as well. So I immediately took her, and at the time I'm talking to MUFON, the state director of MUFON, Barry Gond, and he's telling me over the phone, he said, "You're going to have to accept the fact that this is going on with you." I've been talking with him. And I call him, I throw her in the car. We go straight to the pediatrician. I've known him for years. We've been golfing together, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Now, Dave, I live in Arkansas, 4 kids. I've seen every bug bite, every snake bite, everything out there. This doctor, pediatrician of 30 years, has never seen anything like this. He said these holes are so deep, they should be bleeding or pussing, but the skin is so dehydrated that they're not doing either or. He was just so puzzled. And he did. He walked me outside the door. He said, Eric, if I hadn't known you for over a decade, I'd have to turn you in. And I said, "Doctor, turn me in for what?" He said, "Social services." He said, this is not something you're going to find for bug bites. This is mutilation, And I was like, "Doc, I mutilate myself and my own kid? Are you kidding me? I just want to know what happened to us." So he was floored. He could not believe. We had to go back a couple of times, and he could not, to this day, believe, what he had witnessed on my body. So it was a more. If I got into any more details, I would not be able to adequately finish the interview and speak properly, if you know what I mean.
Now, at this point, a parent's worst nightmare is not being able to be in control of what's happening to your children. We will do anything to the nth degree to protect our children. It's one thing for anything to mess with us as adults, but it's a different ball game when it involves kids. I mean, you
You're
must have
exactly right.
went in rage from 0 to 100 within a second.
I did. I did. I did. There was so much going on inside me, but I mean, you know what? Let it happen to me, but not my children, not my kids, not my babies. And I got to say, Dave, that was the hardest part. Uh, there was a lot of difficult times, but that was the hardest part, especially as a man. That protective, um, you know, thing that we have about us, and it was terrible. It really was. But um, you know, maybe if I can kind of lean away from that because it is bothering me still,
No problem.
to maybe something more comical, something I never said I would. I always said I'd never talk about this in public because it was kind of embarrassing, very scientific. Um,
Okay, you know
uh,
what? You tell your embarrassing story, and then I'll tell you mine, just so you're more
all right.
comfortable and you're not alone.
Well, actually I have a friend of mine, Christy. She's actually walked in the room. That's why my dog was barking. But she lived on the street at the time. She had missing time with me. She's seen these objects. Maybe I'll have her on the show sometime. Talk about. She's looking at me funny. I'll have to bribe her with M&Ms. But yeah, she came around the corner and she was celebrating. And I hadn't drank in a while because kids. You don't want to be inebriated. But I had some drinks and we talked and I got the kids to bed and everything. And I was sitting up late and I remember I had some rum in the freezer. So I got some rum out and I, had some more drinks. And, you slowly get into that poor little me when you've had too much to drink. And, I wasn't used to it anyway. And it just became like I was crying. My life was torn apart. I was finally, releasing all those emotions that I was holding in. And I got that damn feeling, and I knew that, the object was outside. Um, 99% of everybody gets that feeling to look up, and they look up. And as this progressed, it got stronger every single time. I'd know every single time I'd go to the door, the kids would run to the door with the cameras. This particular night, I was alone, and I was pissed. And I was inebriated, Dave. I mean, I was drunk. I was walking sideways. And I go outside, bottle in hand, And instead of opening the door, turning around, and looking up above my apartment, I paced like I was a Wild West guy. I was pacing away from it. I turned around and I vocally did this. I was yelling and screaming at this object. Drunk. I dropped my bottle. It shattered on the ground. You destroyed my life. Why me? Why are you doing this to me? And the next thing I know, my head's tilted back, my eyes are closed, and I'm seeing things with my eyes closed, all kinds of things, mathematics. I even wrote some equations down. And the next thing I know, I'm just getting angry that this is happening to me. This was my turn to yell at you, not yell, do this to me. You're not control over me. It was a drunken state. How do you explain that? And next thing I know, I'm looking at this island with all this stuff going on in the water and like hundreds of sharks everywhere. And whatever experience I was having, it pulled back immediately and took off. So, yeah, embarrassing story.
I'll tell you one from me. I woke up on the table when I got my first abduction that I know of. All right. And I got all excited. And then I woke up on the table. I was lying on my stomach. And as I brought my head up, I looked to the right. It was dark, but I saw light coming from the other side. So I turned my head to the left, and that's where I saw three little gray dudes in silverish black bodysuits, kind of like the bodysuits on Sprockets, and I got a couple members of them in my audience in FAP and Vin on YouTube. Anyways, I put my head back down in this donut, like you're put your head on a massage table, and I felt this little hand go through my hair, and I knew one was at my left shoulder, and that's when I felt them cutting open the back of my head. And I felt the guy in front of me pulling the skin over towards my forehead. And then I heard the saw, dude. And I started screaming my head off. Screaming my head off. And it was so weird because in that moment, I heard my good friend Samantha Mowett's voice say to me, Dave, it doesn't hurt. Just walk away from the pain. It doesn't hurt. You're going to be okay. And at that moment, everything started to tickle. So here I am getting my head cut open. They're trying to implant me in the back of my head. And I feel the skin. The one guy is still pulling on the skin towards my forehead. And dude, God is my witness. I swear on my children's lives on this. And this is where it gets funny. Lorian Fenton, a good friend of yours and mine, cracks up every time she hears this story. I had to pee. And I had to pee bad. You know when you were at the bar with your friends and you're coming close to breaking the seal and you're trying to hold off as long as possible because you know you're going to be going to the bathroom about every 7 minutes after that?
Yes.
So you're holding off on breaking the seal? Well, dude, I started screaming at them. I got my head in this donut, and I'm yelling at them. I said, guys, you got to hurry up and get me back. I got to pee. I'm going to piss all over this table if you do not hurry up. And I started screaming at them, you got to get me back, guys. I got to pee. I got to pee real bad. And I could feel them getting really, really anxious, like they're speeding up, right? And the next thing I know, I wake up, my face is buried in my pillow. I'm on top of my blankets. I never sleep on top of my blankets. I never sleep on my stomach. I'm always on my side. And my head is thumping with the worst hangover, but it's in the back of my head, right where they cut open. I grab my head, run to the bathroom, and literally I stood there for about 5 minutes, man, and took the greatest pee of my life.
Oh, no.
And I stood there, one hand directing, the other hand on the back of my head, making sure my head was okay. I had no blood, no nothing. And that was my first ET abduction that I recall.
Good gosh.
So if you want embarrassing, I just spoke to well over 100,000 people on terrestrial radio saying that I almost peed on a spaceship.
That's got to be some kind of record.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could
That's
go there.
tough.
It's crazy story. Crazy story. Lorian Fenton always says to me, she goes, Dave, you know how I know that story is true? And I said, why? She goes, because no one in their life would ever admit to that.
That's probably true. You know, that kind of reminds me of Linda Corteil. I spoke with her at a conference once, and she was talking about floating out of a window right next to the Brooklyn Bridge, you know, with politicians, police officers, hundreds of people walking up and down the streets. And they all believed that it was a movie shoot that was going on. And it was the real thing. Here she is floating out the window, and she says, Eric, only thing I could think to do is pull my nightgown down so no one can see my hoo-hoo.
I mean, but this is what experiencers go through. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like, I think of John Carty, who has been on this show. A lot of people don't know his name, but this is a kid. Well, he's not a kid now. He's a grown man. But when he was 15 years old, he gets taken out of his bedroom. He wakes up on the couch with his gym shorts on backwards.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's where it gets insane.
It is. It's a common thing. I mean, I don't have much memory of abduction. There's times where I would come to and know that I wasn't home and knew that there were things going on. Absolutely knew it wasn't a dream. And you know, the marks the next day, waking up naked in the backyard, or you know, in my closet, or something like that. With you know, it's terrible. It's terrible. You know, your subconscious mind. You wake up in the morning, your subconscious mind is screaming at you. You feel the emotions. You know it's all there. You know, a dream can do that slightly, but an abduction is just incredibly strong.
Okay, I want to get back to those marks on your arm for 1 second. How long did they take to heal?
It was about a month, and it wasn't a normal healing. It was summertime too, so my daughter and I were both wearing long sleeve, you know, shirts in the dead of the heat to cover them up. But they would actually burst open, and blood would rush down the arm, and that was, I guess, the beginning where the dehydration was going away. The natural cycle was kicking in, so it took about a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still
Unbelievable.
have my scars. They're all up and down, and she has her scars too. But yeah, still to this day, they were deep enough to leave scar tissue.
We got about 1 minute here before we have to go to break. What did you seriously wake up naked in your yard after an abduction?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
what happened there? 45-second
I
version.
I have no idea. A football field at one, or sorry, a baseball field at one point. My pants were on, my socks and shoes were gone, my underwear was gone, and my shirt was gone. All I was wearing was my pants in the muddy baseball field, about less than a block away from my house. I think was the worst one.
These guys aren't caring where the hell they're dropping you off.
Apparently not.
Wow. We're going to get into this and a lot more, and we're going to start turning towards the science side of everything, because Eric's experiences have actually caught the attention of some Ivy League scientists that are really, really taking the time to study him, study the effects, study the brain, as well as other experiencers who haven't come forward yet. It is an incredible story of Eric Mitchell tonight. He doesn't tell it often. He doesn't speak publicly. We are very blessed to have him here. This interview has taken 6 years to line up, but we got him here tonight just for you on Spaced Out Radio. More in hour number 2 with Eric Mitchell and an alien experience coming up. We're just about to launch here again. It's going to be fantastic. Stay tuned. All right, buddy, I'm just going to run in and take my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Before I do that, the Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton has arrived. I'll be right back. All right, buddy, I'm back.
Excellent.
All right. We got a couple minutes left. Apologize. Hey, Bushy Beto. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining our chat room. Melinda Leslie, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. The gorgeous Rafaela from the, I believe, Czech Republic? Yes.
Hey, Melinda.
Yeah, Melinda Leslie's here. She comes in quite often after her tours. Eric with... sorry, go ahead.
I am. We are chasing her down to be part of the documentary. We got to have Melinda
You
on.
have to have Melinda on.
Yes.
She is just one of the most beautiful people in this entire field. She
Yes,
re-
she is.
she really is. Heart of gold. Heart of gold. Eric with a K is here. Did you know, Eric, that we are Eric with a K's fourth favorite show? We're number 4 in his books. We used to be number 5, but we moved up to number 4 about a year ago.
That Jensen.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're number
That man
4.
right. Yeah, that man right there. He is a researcher.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, he goes after it.
he does. He does. Yep, we're number 4 in his books. We love him. Absolutely love him. And I bug him about that all the time. It just I don't know why I get fun out of that. And I know right now he's saying to himself, "Shut up, Dave. Shut up." Jim Lucier, welcome. How are you, buddy? And we've got about 45 seconds here before we're gonna go. And big thank you to Holly, to Science Bob, Brett Lewis, Ed Clador for jumping in on the super chats tonight. We really do appreciate that. That's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Another great way is to hit that subscribe button if you're brand new. We really do appreciate the love and support. We are here every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific and midnight Eastern for 3 hours a night of all sorts of cool topics. That is. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ishkabibble. Ishkabibble is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Eric Mitchell, an alien experience. This is a man who, out of nowhere, started having ET experiences. He is now being studied by some major scientists in the United States about what is going on with his ET contact. Eric, welcome back.
Glad to be here, my friend.
Dude, before we start, I have to say this. All right? This doesn't really involve you, but it involves the show. 6 years ago tonight, I was broadcasting a show on the topic of Buddha, of all topics. And my guest that night was a gentleman named Harvey Kraft. And at my old house, where I was still on Blog Talk Radio, not on terrestrial radio, here I was doing the show. And I had a studio set up right beside my front door. And I had a rancher-style house. You know how they have the big bay window in the front, then you got your front door, then you got your little bedroom, and then you got your garage. That's kind of what the front of my house looked like. And for some reason, I'm somebody who always has the outdoor lights on. And I always have one of those houses where anybody can come over at any time. All right? Didn't matter. So at about this time, 6 years ago, I started seeing something move out of the corner of my eye outside the window. And I was like, oh crap, somebody is here. They've forgotten I got the radio show. They're going to knock on my front door, and my dogs are going to go crazy. And now all I'm going to have is barking in the background while my guest is talking. And I'm thinking this as I'm introducing Harvey to the show. Our show was only 2 hours back then, from 10 till midnight. Now we're 3. And I didn't hear any barking. So I decided, when Harvey started kind of explaining what he was all about, I decided that I was going to put my microphone on mute and swivel my chair and stand up to see who's outside. I didn't know if it was a friend, somebody maybe trying to break into my vehicles, or what. I didn't know. So I swivel my chair, my eyes focus on the darkness outside the window, and there is where I see this giant gray head with 2 almond-shaped eyes staring back at me. Tonight is the anniversary of Carl's appearance at Spaced Out Radio. So, Carl, wherever you are in this universe, we're calling you back. We're putting the energy back to bring you back down here because you owe me a flight. You owe me a flight. I want to go on the ship, Carl. I want to go on the ship, and I want to make sure that I get a good, solid ride. Consciously. None of this subconscious, spiritual crap where you knock me out. No. I want to fly the ship, Carl. I want to fly the ship. So, Carl, wherever you are, we're sending this out to the universe right now through all the radio waves that are broadcasting this show. Get your butt back here, man. I need a flight. And we got to have a serious talk. So, congratulations, Carl, on your anniversary with Spaced Out Radio and with me. Come back soon. It's been a couple of years since you've hung out, and it's damn well time we do it again. Eric, sorry, I had to get that through there and say congratulations to Carl.
I totally understand. The last time I've seen one of these, what do you say, beings, people, phenomena, there's so many words. I had spent, I think, about 3 hours talking down someone. It was last year around this time. I was talking someone down from suicide. I believe it was an organization out of the Philippines that sent me this person. And the moment we got on the phone, shaky voice, the whole 9 yards, redliner, totally there. So I ended up hanging up the phone with him. I put my phone on the charger, put it on the nightstand next to me. And I go to sleep immediately. I mean, that kind of thing gets to be pretty exhausting. I don't have a website. It's word of mouth. I don't charge people. I'm just here to help. I'm one of you. And I wake up, and of course, the first thing I do is what I do every morning. What did I miss? Because there's time zones all over the world, and I have to sleep. So somebody in the UK 7 hours away, I could have missed something, and I get a lot of messages. So I sit up and I'm going through my messages. Everything seems to be fine, and I see something moving at the corner of my eye near my closet. And I turn my head and I look, and clear as day, this thing is standing there. And let me see, I got to turn my body to do this, but the left shoulder was facing me, and he seemed to have something, 3 long fingers and a thumb, something in his hand like a cell phone. I'm sure it wasn't a cell phone, but it was looking at something. And I couldn't help but to notice the crescent-shaped bulbousness out of the back of the base of the skull and how thin this thing was. And he had no idea I was awake. And I'm staring at this thing. I can't move. And I notice something move at the other corner of my eye. And I look to the other side of my bed, and here's this thing staring directly at me. So I turn a little bit. Now I can't, focus on either or because, I'm noticed. And this one with the shoulder facing me turned to me and looked and slowly dissipated as if, some sort of movie effect. I mean, just slowly dissipated and was gone within seconds, just completely gone. I was wide awake. There's no sleep paralysis. I had my knees up, and my back was on the headboard. And, seeing something like that and knowing that you don't have any mental illnesses or anything like that that's causing these types of things, to rule out everything and know that it's absolutely going on is just flooring,
Eric, how many years did this go on for you before you decided that you needed to get some specialized help?
Um, right off the bat, I contacted an investigator, and not too long after that, of course, we needed to do IQ testing because of the night I was knocked down. My IQ was going from 110 to 150 very rapidly, so I was going through a very unfortunate change. I mean, to anyone it would sound wonderful that this happened, but talk to anyone with savant syndrome, and they'll tell you the transition of you catching up with your brain is absolutely horrid. It's terrible. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, immediately, going to see a psychiatrist to get a full workup and find out what's going on. My daydream, I had this daydream, Dave, that I was going to see a psychiatrist, 6 months, maybe some medication, and I'll be fine. That's what I wanted. I mean, I wanted that more than I wanted to breathe. So I took that route. That's what I had to have.
Was it worth coming forward? Jen wants to know in the chat room.
It's going to be. I mean, you you don't get a whole lot of happy endings out of coming forward. I spent time with the Allagash twins. I spent time with Travis Walton, and so many people from the '70s and '80s that came forward. They said, put everything in a shoebox and run away from it. It's not worth it. People will attack you from every direction. People you've never met will attack you. You get harassed. You get death threats. Not a whole lot of good comes out of me personally coming forward. God knows I don't make any money doing it. Um, but coming forward and digging up the information and advocating people that suffer and they don't have the strength of the Constitution to stand up for themselves. That's why I do it. It's for them. I hear suffering on an every single day basis, and I can't stand to live in a world where our own government won't even start an institution to help these people. We're showing this, happening over the ocean. They're showing all these things happening over the ocean. They're not showing it happening over Dave Scott. They're not showing it happening over Eric Mitchell, but it's happening, and we suffer from it. We're never going to be the same, and the world needs to change. Just like in the '70s and '80s, we didn't accept lesbianism or homosexuality. We had a lot more racism back there. This is another step into that kind of change of humanity. Every single 100 years, we think we're the pinnacle of humanity, and every single 100 years, we're absolutely wrong about that. And we're stepping into this now, and it's got to change. I mean, the reason why I don't do public things is it's not really a public thing. I've got to search this information. I want to find out exactly what happened to me, and I want other people not to suffer what I had to suffer through alone. It's a terrible thing. It's not easy.
At first, you contacted MUFON about your case, and they took it very seriously. How did it blow up to where we are today with major scientists wanting to know about what is happening to you?
Actually, MUFON wasn't any help at all. The lady on the phone told me to fill out a report online. I told her I was terrible with computers, didn't know how to do that. And she said, well, that's the only way to go about it. And I thought that was terrible. I got a hold of Barry Gond because I was just learning how to use Facebook, and I found him. He was into paranormal things. I wanted to ask him some questions. I had no idea that he spent a lot of years in MUFON. He actually was not in MUFON at the time. He had a falling out, left MUFON for a little while, and got back with them. But he still went through the proper channels and everything like that. As far as studies and things of that nature, my brain is physiologically different. So naturally, anybody interested in that would want to study this. But once I heard about Dr. Gary Nolan's work at Stanford, I had to get some emails out there, and I contacted some people in Harvard that might be interested in doing some sort of study that way. Now we know that 7 hertz is a basic understanding of the human mind. You're going to find 7 hertz when you're studying the brain. Uh, the average experiencer is around 30 hertz, which is very interesting. Why is it producing more of an electromagnetic field in synapses in the caudate putamen and basal ganglia? That's something I really wanted to know, especially since when I was looked at by Barry Gond, I was putting out 1,590 hertz at will, at sheer will, at better control than my voice. So that was pretty alarming, for him. So that needs to be studied as well. But I think I'll hopefully kind of bridge the gap between these 2 studies, and maybe up the ante a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard for academics to want to look into this, but when you show them something miraculous, they kind of tend to pay attention. Now, you and I, Dave, we're at the knowledge of this stuff. We know, we can't explain what has happened to us, but we know it's happened. So if we get these scientists to back engineer and learn the science about it, we're the pinnacle. We're at the end. We need to drag them along through all the mud, so they can find all the bells and whistles. If we go back to when I was knocked down, I felt like a magnet was dragging over me. Did you know the iron in your blood was negatively charged? So if you have a high electromagnetic field above you, it will feel like a magnet rocking you back and forth.
I had no idea.
All the stuff that was woo-woo to me is now scientifically proven. I had to wear reading glasses to see far away and up close after that incident. Just happens that, a high electromagnetic field will push and pull on the magnetites in your eyes at the same time, giving you both farsighted and nearsightedness at the same time. The positively charged, what was left of my blood was drawn to my shoulders, which looked like a burn, but it wasn't a burn. It was just that magnetism drawing it to my skin, and it left a rash for a while. So all those things that, I thought never could be explained, have been. But, the major thing is, Harvard getting this study funded and ready to go. They are informed. I've spent the last year and a half, going back and forth. They're better informed, and gosh, they are really good at what they do. They're already talking about non-local microtubules. They understand how all this stuff is. Now it's time to really take a look and get some of the best experiencers we can to first and foremost play the lab rat. I know it sucks, but after that, rent out a hotel room and tear out the walls, because every time we get together, it's an amazing time.
So for you deciding that you wanted to be, to use your terms, a lab rat in finding what is going on with you, how did that play out? How did that happen? Because you were involved with a study being done at Stanford University by...
No, I wasn't involved in the study.
Okay.
I've heard about the study and, got the information, passed that along to Harvard University as well.
Okay.
But I was the guy that bridged the gap between the 2 colleges.
Okay. Now, I thought you were working with Dr. Gary Nolan.
Nope. No, I have not. There are rumors of that, but straight from the horse's mouth, I've not been working with him. I didn't participate in his study, but I was willing to bridge the gap between the 2 colleges and give Harvard the extra amount of information. The information that I know to be true as an experiencer, how all this stuff goes on. So they know where to look now. They know how to study it now, and they're ready after a year and a half of very long conversations that they know what to look for. The caudate putamen, basal ganglia, the hertz, the DNA, everything. So it's going to be the best study ever done on experiencers.
Now, how did you reach out to these Ivy League schools?
There were some inquiries through different organizations like Starborn Support and things of that nature from several colleges all over the world, actually. There were some from Texas, and I was referred to a guy that was from Harvard. And I thought, well, if he's interested, I'm gonna make sure he has everything he needs. And I did, in the back of my mind, believe that I would sound like a complete nutcase to the guy. And I had procured a very interesting piece of information on a chip that's been locked away since I think 1952 on electrogravitics. And I went ahead and started passing that out to some universities to see if they were interested in it. And he actually took the time to take a look, and the rest is history. It's just a matter of time. COVID slowed us down big time, but at the same time, it was kind of a blessing because instead of moving forward immediately, we had to sit on our thumbs and wait. So in that wait period, we exchanged a lot of information.
Why has your case got such attention from scholars and scientists alike?
Well, I think it kind of bridges the gap. I really do. I mean, it really doesn't hurt to pick up the phone and reach out to these people. I mean, they're human beings too. Um, I do have, brain anomalies. I do have a DNA anomaly. Here's a weird thing, and this is gonna, make a few people think. But in my DNA, my ALX4 is mutated, and the ALX4 is a basic blueprint of the human being. The MLX2 actually causes cleft lip and bone dysplasia and mutations, but my DNA is kind of mutated a little bit, and it's not supposed to. And it creates a hole on each side of my parietal suture that goes all the way through my skull. Now, just underneath, there's a slab of muscle there, a lot like the heart and the tongue, and it protects my brain from any intrusion into those holes. So it's kind of gnarly, kind of neat. But in UFO history, you only see two people that have been knocked to the ground by these UFOs, one of which is Travis Walton, which is funny. I've spent some time with him. We roommated together up in Maine for a while, and we had the conversation. And it was so funny because, my friend Audrey at the time, she headed Starborn Support. I was telling Travis about it, prompted by her, and Travis grabbed my hand, and he's got one hole in that area right there. I'm sure he's going to be so happy with me mentioning that, but I find that pretty interesting.
Did you know any of this scientific stuff regarding the brain previous to your experiences, or
Oh,
did they give you that information?
it's almost like you know it immediately. If you know what I'm talking about, Dave. But having me and my investigator call it elbow dancing, where you get this download of information, and that's all we can call it, is really a download. Once it happens to you, or at least me, now I know that it's real and not some kind of psychological disorder. I want to know how it works, and quantum entanglement is a placeholder word right now, and maybe we'll have something later on. But there is communication at a distance, and it's happening. It's happening to a lot of people. Some of the equations I wrote down and passed to some major scientists, they're getting back in touch with me saying, "Is there a key? This is very complex. All the math makes sense. It's very exotic. Where are you getting this information?" So it does grab some attention in some places, but at the same time, in the very very beginning, the Pentagon and the CIA knew about what was happening to me, and they sent out a guy by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Dallas C. Wood to stay at a hotel nearby my home and literally stalk me. And I believe they pulled a domestic intelligence report, and we accidentally busted him because my neighbor is a porter in that hotel, and she went in to clean the sheets and everything, and found the ledger, found all these pictures he was taking about me, and we basically traced his name back to the Pentagon, who he was involved with, and that's when I found out back in 2014, 2015, the ATIP program, the OSAP program, and ultimately, with my digging, the phenomenology desk ran by the Aviary Group. I think Ron Pandolfi runs it now. Dr. Christopher Green previously ran it, or Blue Jay, Kit Green.
Right. Eric, hold on right there because we're going to get into some real deep stuff here. The minute you open up the aviary, spies, people checking out who's being taken and who's not, we know we got to go down that road. Eric Mitchell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We will continue to learn more about his experience and his life changes, all due to aliens, right after this. Sorry, dude, I was right into the conversation and I lost track of time.
I know how it is. But
yeah, just hold that thought on that, and then we'll bring it back on the air. Give me 2 seconds here because I have to do this. One of our sponsors of this show, ladies and gentlemen, is Mighty Moose Beard Oil. You go to mightymoosebeard.com, and this beard oil, all natural, no chemicals. It's good for the beard if you're a guy, or maybe a woman who has a beard, and for the ladies or for guys who don't have beards, it's good for your hair as well. Now, Gary the Dutchman, if you know the Dutch people, they don't like to give deals on anything. Oh, you want the winter blend tonight? Greg Moyes wants the winter blend, so that's what we're going to go with. Got my winter blend here from Gary the Dutchman from MightyMooseBeard.com, and he's like, dude, just try it out. Try it out. So I said, okay. So you just take that, drop it into your hand like so, and you can just massage it into your hair. It helps with split ends. It's all natural, good for your hair, helps it grow. That's why my hair grows so quick. All right? So go to MightyMooseBeard.com, use promo code SOR2019 for the entire month of April. Anybody who buys any Mighty Moose beard oil will get $1 of the profit will go straight to helping Parkinson's disease in British Columbia, because Parkinson's hits Gary the Dutchman's home very, very closely. So do yourself a favor, smell good, feel good, MightyMooseBeard.com, good sponsor of ours. Check him out today. We'd appreciate that. Sorry, Eric.
Oh, no worries.
You don't have any hair, so the beard oil is not going to work for you. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I shaved for the movie, but I'll grow it back later.
Good.
I'm thinking a lot like yours. Yeah.
I want to see it happen, man. I want to see it happen.
Well, I had to show the holes for the movie, so.
So basically, it would almost look like you got shot by a shotgun.
Yeah. It's 2 1.5-inch holes on each side of the parietal suture. Now you know you have that soft spot, but mine closed up in the parietal suture. It closed up, but on each side, it's there. So Harvard took a look at me when I was born. So this is actually my second go around with Harvard University.
Very cool. Very cool, man.
Full turnaround. Yeah.
You're winning.
Trying.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Hey, I'm having
definitely.
Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, I just have one of those lives that I constantly can't believe I live.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. Like dude, I feel the exact same way. And I used to worry about what people thought. I'm sure you did. You used to worry about what people were saying, because, like anybody, there's always going to be the critics out there who are trying to bring you down. And I just got to a point where I just said, you know what? I really don't care.
Yeah, I don't even deal with that kind of thing. If there's a rude remark or, you don't see intelligence there. You really don't. And, I prefer to have an intelligent conversation. So when someone starts doing that online or something, I just ignore it. But every once in a while, Dave, I do kind of bite the knuckle and throw out a paragraph or two that people enjoy reading.
I know you do. I've caught a couple of them.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. When you speak, I kind of listen.
I appreciate that, my friend. I try my best. I'm after the truth, and anything else is just a waste of time.
That's true. That's true, especially in this field, because, I mean, the closer we move to any sort of disclosure, really, the more competitive and the more vitriol we are seeing. And instead of all of us working together, trying to bring it together, it's just becoming a pain in the ass. That's for sure.
It really is. It's sad because if we all did work together and we weren't in, seemingly competition, money creates that competition, popularity creates that competition, narcissism creates that competition. But um, look what's lost, in that type of selfishness. It's
True.
not healthy.
All right, Eric, we're just about to come back here, so just bear with me. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the captain of this show that we love to call Spaced Out Radio, and we appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello to everyone listening in around North America and the world. And remember that you can check out all of our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Eric Mitchell tonight as we are talking about what it's like to be tracked by government agencies when it comes to being an experiencer. Now, Eric, when did you first notice that somebody was tailing you?
Well, it was at home, actually. We had an object come down. It dipped below the tree lines. Me, the kids, and a few neighbors had bellied up against my Cadillac. And you really can't break eye contact with something like this. So we're just staring at it. And a helicopter, and I mean, it must have been so quiet because we didn't hear it really coming. It just broke the tree line behind us and turned on its spotlight. And it was just above the power lines. It was right there. The object immediately took off the opposite direction. So, my first thought is, wow, they've met. This spotlight came down, blinded us. I had to hold my hat on top of my head because it was right there in our face. I mean, it was scary. We just saw a UFO, and I wasn't as scared as I was of this helicopter. It was a Black Hawk helicopter, had no markings on it. And once the spotlight went up and down the street and in the yard looking around for other people, I noticed this guy had like these big sunglass type things on. And I'm trying to make out his face. It was kind of dark, so I couldn't make out his face very well. And after he checked out the neighborhood, he rose up and took off the same way he came. So I told my daughter, I said, go inside, run the coffee pot. The military knows, they're going to be here soon. Just like the movies. But that's not how it works, Dave. That's not how it works at all. We didn't see any of that. A few days later, a couple of recruiters went to my home. I was at work. My two underage daughters were home. They knocked on the door, went inside, closed the door behind them. Now, that's a PR problem for the military. You don't go behind a closed door with an underage female. My friend Dan across the street noticed that. He said it was really funny because they parked at the mailbox. They didn't park in front of my home. The mailbox was down the street. My daughter, both my daughters sat down. They talked to them about joining the military. Didn't talk about which branch. One said he had to use the bathroom. He went down the hallway. After about 5 minutes, my daughter got suspicious and went down the hallway looking for him. He was not in the bathroom. The bathroom light wasn't even on. He was across the hall in my bedroom, and he was sitting at my desk going through the drawer. And she said, "What are you doing in my dad's room?" He said, "Well, I saw a little kitty in here and I wanted to pet it." He immediately stood up, went back into the living room, got with the other guy, and they immediately left. No cards, no names, no parchment of any kind whatsoever. That's really not like a recruiter I've ever met. I mean, they want you to know their name, number, where to contact them, everything. It was really fishy. Dan called me at work. I came home immediately. They told me what happened. I went to the recruiter's office. Those men did not work for the recruiting office in my town, nor the state capitol. So I have no idea who those men were. But later on, we found a late 1940s, early 1950s CIA tracking device, both in that desk and in my vehicle underneath the driver's seat. And that was confirmed through my investigator. So it's invasive. It's really invasive. You know, I've up in Maine, I was ran off the road by two SUVs. The license plate of one was Milabs, Milabs. The one behind me was Milabz on the license plate. So, yeah, it gets pretty bad. 2015, I got sick with a mycotoxin that was in my blood. It was a specific mold spore that affects very few people. I spent over a year and a half dying. Got down to 98 pounds. Sent my kids to, my daughter to go live with her boyfriend. I sent my son to go live with his mom, so I could literally pass away. But eventually I beat it. Now, did that happen because of all this? I don't know. There are people that have suggested that to me, saying how rare that is, and most of these things are genetically engineered, namely in Russia. It started over there. But yeah, there's just a lot of things that happen. But I did have confirmation at one point where I got a phone call through Facebook, and I'm not going to mention his name out of respect. I don't want him to. If he said it was okay, then it would be fine. I respect him a lot. This is a brilliant scientist, a modern day Nikola Tesla in my eyes. I've seen his inventions. He calls me through Facebook and he says, "Quick, will you explain to me what this looked like and how it affected your body?" And I told him, and he started laughing, Dave. And I said, "Look, whatever radio show you're running, I don't want to be heckled. Leave me alone." And he said, "No, no, no, no. Wait, I'm a scientist. And these guys from the CIA are over here. They're looking at some of my inventions. And they started talking about you." And he said, "I follow every case." He said, "I've never heard of yours. I needed to talk to you. I wanted to know the information." And he said, "You want to know why?" He said, "I've been trying to back engineer this stuff for over 20 years now." So we spent about 6 hours that day on, my computer and his computer. He was giving me codes to look at some of these inventions that he was working on. And Dave, it blew me away because I was searching for so many things. And, to have the CIA say your invention reminds us of the Eric Mitchell case, that's one thing. But another thing for him to show me that this manipulation of the electromagnetic field produced something related to consciousness, it blew my mind because I knew that's what I was looking for such a long time, that these electromagnetic fields can connect to the human brain. And even though his wasn't really stable, the science behind it is just mind blowing.
How did they know it was you?
They had Lieutenant Dallas. Well, they had the helicopter come out. They spotlighted us. It was me, Dan, and the kids. I'm sure it was pretty easy to nail down. In the beginning, the object was so frequent. And I say object, there was one that always came to the ground. The rest of them stayed in the air. They looked just like stars. But it'd be pretty easy. Almost everybody on my street moved away. They were in fear. They didn't know what to do. They were calling the cops a lot. Um, they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to get the cooties. They knew it was because of me. So I'm sure it was just a matter of time before they realized I was the only guy left on the block, and this object was still coming down.
So you don't think that your name was part of a list or anything that they needed to, or that they were tracking previous to that?
It could be. It could be previous to that. I mean, I was oblivious until it was right there in my face. But that's what they do is they pull. It's called a domestic intelligence report, and that gives them the legal right to follow you around and collect data. And that's how the process works. And they covertly watch everything you do. Now, am I a paranoid guy and look at every helicopter that flies in the sky? No, no, absolutely not. I don't even wake up in the morning anymore looking for marks, to see if anything happened to me. It's just a waste of time, to be paranoid about those things. Those guys are going to do what they're going to do. And I guarantee you, they're basically looking for intel any way they can. If I was a narcotics investigator and I wanted to catch the drug dealer, the head guy, I'm not going to run out there and bust every crackhead on the street. I am going to follow these crackheads until I find out where the major activity is coming from. And I'm sure that's the way they conduct their business as well.
Do you feel you're still being tracked?
I rarely think about it, but I'm sure it's a possibility. I just don't really pay attention to it. I'd love to talk to Luis Elizondo and say, hey, you guys were watching out for these things. There were helicopters, there were F-18s over my home chasing these objects. If it wasn't ATIP, then who the hell is involved?
But that's a hard pill to swallow, man. Whether or not you're being tracked, your children are being tracked. I mean, you didn't ask for any of this. Do you feel kind of
No,
no?
no, I didn't ask for any of it. Look, Dave, you have to live your life no matter what happens to you. If you have diabetes and your leg has to come off tomorrow, you still have to wake up tomorrow. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's easy or it's fun. I got to say, buddy, it's terrible. The last 8 years of my life has been learning curve after learning curve, trying to get by in life. But um, yeah, man, I've suffered a lot. My whole life was taken away from me. I've had to learn about all these things and, still getting attacked by people in the public and people that, have never met me. I have my hometown where these people have seen these objects. I've got friends that won't even talk to me anymore because I live in the Bible Belt and that's the devil coming down from the sky. I didn't tell them what happened to me. They saw it. Everybody around here saw it. There were people once people heard about this thing coming down from the sky, it's a small town. People were coming out with pickup trucks and vans full of people. They all saw it, And now that I'm back home, I still go shopping at the grocery store and get dirty looks from highly religious people.
Have you been able to figure out at all about why do you think you were chosen for this?
Well, I mean that I try not to speculate on things, but at the same time, speculation can be fun as long as people know I'm speculating. But I do believe that um, it's a bloodline thing. I believe that we develop this caudate putamen through in basal ganglia area of the brain, the antenna, the ET phone home area of the brain. I think is either developed from our DNA or it's viable on contact. You say, well, hey, look at this guy's brain. We can say hi to him. It's developed there, or it's just a DNA thing that's been going on for a long time and slowly has gone. I mean, that's one thing we have to look at in future studies is what creates this antenna for contact.
But deep down inside yourself, let's go more philosophical here for a second. Do you have any clues as to why you? Has any of your contact led you to that answer?
I did have regression, and in this regression, I did ask, why me, of course? And the reply is because your family. Now, that could be left open for interpretation. You know, we're family throughout the universe. Is my bloodline part of their progenitor. I mean, there's so many ways you can look at that. So um, it it's just confusing. I ask myself that question every single day of my life. Why me? You know. But maybe I'll find out someday. Maybe I won't. But God, I think for now I'm done torturing myself with it because it is one of the strongest questions. I mean, isn't it, Dave? I mean, every single one of us question that. It could have been Bob down the street. Why me? And it's one of the most difficult ones. Which is why I spend all my life chasing down answers. Past 8 years, but I say all my life, all my new life. Everybody I went to high school with, they're chasing after money and mortgages and a nice car. I'm hardly doing anything to provide for myself. I mean, I'm spending all my time doing this. Not a hobby. It's my life now, and I have to find out what this is.
Eric Mitchell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Every experiencer is on that quest, trying to figure out why us, why did this happen? For you, we also know, as you said earlier in the show, that it also involves your children.
Yes.
My
Yes.
question to you is, and please feel free to tell me that you don't want to answer this question either, but it's a one-off question. I'm not going to ask a follow-up. Is this still happening to your children as well?
My youngest son, yes. Yes, my biological son, my only biological son, yes. He does have frequent sightings. He lives about 4 hours north from me, just started college. He broke the news to his girlfriend recently. He's in love with her. And he took her out into a field and laid down a blanket. They laid there and talked about it for a little while, and an object showed up, over the trees. So it took her a little bit to kind of wrap her mind around everything. But I think she's doing a lot better now, and surprisingly, she's okay with it. So I think that's a great thing.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome that he's able to at least have that relationship with it. But there's another key question. Like outside of that, do you worry about relationships with friends that all of a sudden, say you meet someone? I don't know if you're dating anybody, but if you meet someone and all of a sudden this is going to start happening to that person.
I did, yeah, yeah. That's a terrible thing. I've had a lot of problems with that. A friend wanting me to stay the night, and I end up in a hotel, or them doing it. It's but yeah, dating. No, I actually dated a um, not bipolar. What is that? Borderline personality disorder, and that kind of ruined me for a while. I've got to heal up and stay away from that for a bit. Those things can be pretty terrible. You oftentimes don't see a toxic person until it's in the rearview mirror per se. So, but maybe in the future.
How do you broach that subject with people? Like
Well,
it's not like you're when you meet someone, you're gonna say, "Hi, I'm Eric, and I've got aliens."
yeah, yeah. I shy from the subject. I mean, if people approach me, I'll talk to them about it. I don't try to change anybody's minds, beliefs, religions, or anything. I mean, that's their personal space, and I respect it. So I really don't approach anyone with it. I think the only thing I'm approaching with it would be this documentary that's coming up, because people will have to face what they see. They may not like it. They may just love the information because they suffer a few things. But Dave, you would be amazed at how many people walk up to me. One of the guys at UFO Garage, I met his dad in the backyard. Within 10 minutes of feeling me out, he went ahead and told me about his UFO experience. It's just, if we all just put that shroud down for a minute and we're completely open, you wouldn't believe how many people have actually had experiences. It's absolutely stunning.
Jules in our chat room wants to know, have you ever heard anything about the correlation between experiencers and scoliosis?
I really haven't looked at that. There is a lot of correlations, over time that you pick up, but scoliosis is not one that I've actually looked at. I haven't really paid attention. There very well could be, but I mean, not to my knowledge right now. I will keep an eye open for that, though.
What other correlations have you noticed?
There's some I can't even explain. Once that consciousness kind of pops open, you're constantly looking at the clock and it's 4:44, 11:11, 2:22. Constantly waking up at 3 a.m. Feeling like you're homesick, but you don't know where home is. There's just so many of them like that. That really have no scientific basis right now, but it's really interesting how they all have that. We all have that, and one day I'd like to find some answers.
Do you think you will?
I'm pretty hard headed. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. It might be difficult, but um, I think I'm on the right path right now. I think neurology needs to be seriously looked at. The human brain was never something that I really wanted to look into, but the more I dig into this, the more I understand that
Hmm.
this interaction, it definitely is a connection. There always is a connection. I mean, so many famous people that reported seeing a UFO, they say, "Well, I just thought to look up." Now, if you were to practice that more and more, you'd have more of a connection than you did on the surface level, and it becomes a stronger thing. Just like lifting weights. Neurologically, you're building neurons for that type of contact, or if you will. But I highly believe it's going to be a jaw dropping finding. Once it's all said and done.
Good friend of this show, Stephen Ercantalo, he was a guest just a couple of weeks ago. He is asking, Eric, do you believe there is a correlation between spiritual energy and aliens? Do hauntings
Oh,
go hand in hand with changing realms from our world to the conscious world?
absolutely, and that's highly intelligible question. I mean, that's almost every single experiencer has that. Almost every single one. And what correlates the whole thing? I believe it's the electromagnetic field. Um, our consciousness is made of a very specific electromagnetic field, and it's a non-local entity, just like a spirit would be. So a lot of people, when they open up into that, and the brain starts to form a very particular way, there are ghosts, there are spirits, there are things of that nature. I've met so many people that have been investigators, boots on the ground for their whole life, and they just sit there and go, there's something that's related. I just can't put my finger on it. It's absolutely the electromagnetic field involvement.
I would agree with that too, because I know when I had my first experience, not with aliens, it didn't start that way with me. It started with something else. That within 2 days, my house was haunted. Everyone in my house was hearing spirits walking up and down our stairs, hearing spirits, walking downstairs, noises. All of a sudden, my house, which never creaked, started having these creepy little creakings going on. I think it's all intertwined as well on that. So I would agree with that. Nikki wants
Sure.
to know, as we have about a minute to go here before we go to break at the top of the hour, what about the dream factor of experiencers? What's your thoughts?
My gosh, that could be a whole show. That literally could be a whole show. I mean, how do you see things with your eyes closed and accept that as a dream? But when you remote view or do something like that, it's questionable. I think that's kind of hilarious. I think dreams are a lot more than what is portrayed through science at this time. We're going off of some very old, dusty books, and I think there's a lot more to that, um, and it should be dug into. I think sleep studies would be a phenomenal thing if we can get that going with experiencers. I think it would be great because so many premonitions come through there. Not many people dig into the mind of the quintessential experiencer because you can't gain the trust of that person. But once you do, and you realize they're gifts of empathy, they're gifts of sporadic psychic moments that can be very helpful in your life, or just jaw dropping when premonitions come true. these minds should be celebrated. As a matter of fact, a lot of experiencers are in the field of science. We're hidden everywhere, entertainment, all over the place. Highly intellectual people, as Dr.
Right.
Gary Nolan pointed out.
Eric, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have Eric Mitchell for another 30 minutes talking UFOs, aliens, the experience itself. Then we're going to Vancouver with the shift, the news, and the thought of the day next on Spaced Out Radio.
I do apologize, Dave, if I'm bouncing around too much. Or
no,
you're,
dude, this is a perfect show. This is a perfect show. I'm just going to run
too
my
much.
dogs outside. I'll be right back. Okay, bro?
All right, buddy.
Okay. All right, bro, I'm back.
All right. Catching up a
Anya.
show must be popular.
Oh, dude, yeah, we got quite a few people here. Anya, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Just amazing. Thank you also to Rye Guy, Gorgeous Jules, Ange in Australia, Greg, Melinda Leslie, Holly, Science Bob, Brett, and Ed. Really helps support this show, everyone. Thank you so much for everything that you do to help us. And that's just awesome. Wow. It's awesome. Eric, I want to say thanks, man, for coming on. This has been phenomenal. Better than I thought it was going to be, man. Better than I thought it was going to be.
It's a pleasure. I just I apologize about being too sporadic if I am. There's just so much information.
No, you're doing perfect. You're doing perfect. Hi, Magnolia. How are you? We've got about 1 minute here, brother. 1 minute.
All right.
Stetson John, thanks for joining us. Hope you got your hat on. Shelly, good to see you. It's Izaza. Welcome back to the show. And let's see. I think we're caught up on everybody. I always like to make sure that I say hello to everybody in our chat room. It's just, they're taking time out of their night to actually spend it with us. So it's kind of important that we say hello.
Absolutely.
When we get to the break at the bottom of the hour, I'll say goodnight to you, and then wait, pause until you hear me at the break, and then I'll say a proper goodnight, okay?
Sure.
All right, brother. We're going to get going here in about 15 seconds. Let's see. Bomber, it's too hot for my firewood cutting jacket.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I really do appreciate earning your listening ears on a nightly basis, especially all of those. We found out that our numbers have almost doubled on Saga 960. Yeah, doubled. I found out today. I'm pretty happy about that, as you should too. So we are catching fire here with one of our radio stations that we broadcast, Saga 960 in Mississauga, Ontario. We really do appreciate that. And we also want to say hello to everyone else listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ishkabibble. Ishkabibble is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Eric Mitchell. He is an experiencer who is going through a bunch of tests, trying to figure out why this is happening to him. Why are ETs contacting him? Where did it come from? How in 2013 did this just happen out of the blue and it continues today? Eric, welcome back.
Excited to really talk some more about this. I mean, I get really passionate about the, mind of the experiencer. And oftentimes I think, the freedom of not having that societal pressure on you and allowed to be that quintessential self, to allow yourself to express who you are fully in public. A lot of amazing things would happen. I've met a lot of great scientists that have had experiences, politicians, actors, lawyers, doctors, very, very intelligible people. And if they were allowed to express themselves fully, God only knows what would happen. I mean, they would be so super productive. It'd be ridiculous.
Going forward here with your own experiences, what do you want to happen from all this? Like, for instance, with me, I can tell you this. I don't want this nighttime crap anymore. I want to be visualized. I want to be awake. I want to be all of a sudden getting that telepathic message to come outside in my backyard. And when I go into my backyard, there is a ship on the ground and I am walking onto it. That's what I want. What do you want out of this?
I would, Dave, I'd love to explore that as well. But I think, as people, planet Earth, I've talked to people in 127 different countries now. I want this to be accepted first and foremost, not maybe disclosure, but people that have been affected, not to be ridiculed and bashed at so hard, because you can learn a lot from it. You really can. It's amazing. I was talking to the parents of a 14-year-old girl. You can put any blindfold you want on her face, even duct tape. Put a book in front of her she's never read, and she'll read the page out to you. Now, can you imagine that mind being allowed to be productive in society instead of ridiculed, burned at the stake, if you will? That's terrible. People like that should be celebrated. Wouldn't you want to know a friend, that would have these empathic moments and sporadic psychic, inklings to maybe give you advice in life? I know I would. It's an incredible thing. People like myself and so many out there should be cherished. Experiencers as a whole. We talk about collations. We got to talk about this. These people will take their shirt off their back for anybody. They have so much humility, so much care for the environment, the planet, the world, and what's going on. It's a bigger picture for them. We're not stuck in consumerism. We're not stuck in the mirage. We actually care, and you're going to find some of the biggest hearts in the world when you meet people like this. So, if that was allowed, in our society, I think it would change for the better.
I want to ask you about your experiences. Do you have experiences that are still happening today? And if so, do you remember your latest one?
3 months ago, I got that strong feeling to come outside. I opened the door. It was, I'd say, 35-degree angle, 40-foot diameter orange sphere, which it usually is. My neighbor from the backyard, I actually tried to shine a flashlight at it. And my other neighbor, which was a preacher at the time, well, it kind of changed him quite a bit. He burned his religious books in the backyard, and I noticed he was home instead of church every Sunday after that. So, I mean, the object just kind of went straight up and dissipated. But as far as I know, that's the last thing that I experienced. Of course, moved again. I usually move a lot because of the activity.
Do you recall your last contact with ETs?
I don't know if we did that on the show, but me sitting up in bed, the sunlight was coming through. Now, you're talking about physical or neurologically?
Let's talk physical.
Okay. Woke up. I spent half the night, talking to potential suicide. So naturally, the first thing I did, I grabbed my phone to make sure there wasn't any problems. And of course, time zones are difficult. When you have to sleep at night, there's people all over the world. I sat up in bed, grabbed my phone. I was going through messages, and I saw something moving at the corner of my eye. And I looked, and right next to me, left shoulder of this being, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at something in his hand. And he was there just as I can see you, solid as can be. I saw something move on the other side of my bed, and I looked over, and there was a figure standing there. So I kind of froze. But I did get a good look at the bulbous front of the head, the split hemisphere type in the bone, the crescent type shape of the back of the neck, where we have that rounded part on the back of our neck. This was more crescent shaped. It was, difficult to describe. I wish I could draw. But this, Dave, it literally, not sleep paralysis. I was wide awake. Okay, the right brain is operational when you're sleeping. The left brain can read numbers and letters and all that stuff. I've already read several messages before I realized that this thing was standing next to me. I was wide awake, and it dissipated, just absolutely dissipated, until there was nothing there. And see, that's one of those things where you sit there and you're in your bed. My knees were up, my back was against the headboard. I was wide awake, and I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, did that just happen? You fight your own brain on it, but I absolutely know 100% that's what I saw. It was there.
See, the last time something happened to me was a few weeks ago, and I went into this dream, and it was like I was at this, it was a real dark, cloudy night. I was at this dark hotel, with a high rise and a convention center, and there was a bunch of ufologists in there. And Bob McGuire was in there as well. And there were two alien grays paired up, and then there was one running around in a different area. And I felt like we were being chased. And I contacted Bob McGuire the next morning. And I said to Bob, I said, "How did you sleep last night?" And he goes, "I tossed and turned." He goes, "My wife Sharon got up in the middle of the night and was distracted by some noises, like it was somebody walking around our house. And I literally went, I got abducted last night. I could tell." And he's like, "How?" I said, "Well, I know you were there." So anyways, long story short, he actually goes and checks his Fitbit. And his Fitbit actually recorded him being awake for 90 minutes in the middle of the night that he has no recollection of. None whatsoever. And he doesn't know what happened. All he knows is that he did not sleep very well.
I acquired a friend of mine up in Maine, and I'd love to mention him. He's not going to be in the movie. He was going to, but he recently unexpectedly passed away. But he was a United States Marine, Kirk Morgan, and he was guarding a nuclear silo, back in the day. And he was in the back of the Jeep when they were pulling into the base, and this orange sphere came out of the sky and followed this Jeep into, the base. And there was nothing the base could do, and it freaked this huge guy. I mean, this guy was, unbelievably large, tough, but he was cowered down in the seat, scared out of his mind, and so he came up to see me in Maine while I was very sick. And Dr. Roger Lear had given me some DVDs to watch. It wasn't published, but it was on these implants. 2 weeks before he died, we were supposed to meet at Dolores Cannon's conference, and we're going to talk about removal, and looking. I was supposed to be patient 18, his 18th person to study this. And so he was intrigued. So he drove up, from New Hampshire. I had no furniture. I just moved in. So we're sitting in wooden chairs, just watching these DVDs that Dr. Roger Lear put together. And we're learning, all this stuff. And I turned and I looked at Kirk Morgan and I said, "Hey, buddy, you're going to have to get a hotel room." And he said, "Why? What are you talking about?" I said, "Man, I'm going to have one of those nights." And he was intrigued for a second. The light bulb above us, which was in the, the switch was in the next room. It was an old building, turned on by itself. There was no one else in the apartment. And all of a sudden, a blue flash of light came through the window past the TV. Next thing you know, of course, I have air mattresses and stuff like that. Next thing you know, me and him both, and we weren't drinking, we don't do drugs or anything like that. He was actually on kidney dialysis, for many years, so he couldn't drink anyway. We woke up the next morning around 8:30 on the floor, wooden floor. Both of us, bad backs and everything. Just woke up and he's going, "What in the hell happened?" So, these things happen. They do, whether you like them or not. Uh, And it's the terrible thing. He would have came forward. He was really excited, um, to be a part of that. Very curious. He didn't seem very scared. Most people would just run off, but he trained his whole life to try to figure out what this phenomenon is. But it goes to show you, most people, they don't come forward, but even the ones that are willing to, sometimes pass away. So shout out to that man. He was a great guy, and uh, I'm sure he knows what's going on by now.
I'm sure he does too. For you, you know, as an experiencer, because you don't come at this from any other angle besides that, I'm curious to what your thoughts are on this latest movement towards disclosure or confirmation in regards to what we see on the news on a nightly basis here, people talking all over social media about it. And I've always thought over the last couple of years, the experiencers have really been cast aside for those who are trying to prove scientifically that we are not alone or whatever this UAP, and I hate that term, I really do, this UAP stuff is. How do you feel as an experiencer when you watch what's going on in ufology today?
Dave, what what does pure honesty feel like when you kiss or hug your wife or your mother or someone like that versus someone running up to you at a gas station wanting $1 because they ran out of gas and they're trying to get their children home from another state. You know, um, First and foremost, what does that feel like? And I tend to deal with my intuition because I used to have this thing in the back of my head saying I got to get a cup of coffee, I got to go to the grocery store, I got to do this, I got to do that. I gave up on that. It was too distracting. So a lot of things that come through me are just emotional, and I translate it into words. I don't want to bother my brain that much. It's torture. But honesty itself feels honest. It feels genuine. This whole thing that you're talking about does not feel exactly honest or genuine whatsoever. Um, and I think maybe a non-distracted 5-year-old could even go, "Aha, something's wrong here." I had a lot, and I mean a lot of activity over my home in several different areas, including Las Vegas, where it was getting attention by a lot of people. Um, where's the honesty there? Where these, instead of Blackhawks, now we have Apaches because they're in that area. Where is the honesty there? You're talking about people that, maybe there's a slow integration into the majority of the public, just to be careful about how we affect people. War of the Worlds, that did a lot of damage. So I understand the responsibility of doing it very slowly and not admitting that, look, we found one over Kansas or something, or Ohio. I understand that, but at the same time, I'm really not happy about it. If you give somebody that kind of power, and disclosure is a very, very powerful thing over the masses, somebody's going to take advantage of it. And I think a lot of people already have, and it's going to continue. Um, the most important thing about disclosure is not the people that are supposed to defend the Constitution of the United States, just talking about my country alone, but the people that own it, and that's us. Um, I feel it's very important because I've met with a few officials out there that pretty much say this is going to gear up for some type of war, and when war hits, control will hit. I know that sounds like a conspiratorial type of thing, but look how they're utilizing this COVID thing. Um, that's not a completely honest thing either. So never waste a good disaster. I believe some of these sociopaths like to use that terminology. So uh, I'm not a fan. I mean, I should be happy that disclosure is happening, but I have a huge fear of what that could mean. Stock markets do dip if you bet a little too much and put a little too much hope into them. And I hope people aren't, because the real disclosure is we the people. It's not our big bad government. Look what they've done for people like us, Dave. Absolutely nothing. And so, yeah, I think a little caution to the wind when it comes to all these things. Um,
And I do too, but do you think that the way that they are concentrating just on what's happening with the military scenario, like we're not discussing, like you said, what's happening over Eric Mitchell's house or Travis Walton's or my place or other people's who had UFO experiences? We're only seeming to be concerned that it's happening over military installations. We're not even talking about the Battle of LA or sightings over Seattle or New York or Washington D.C., which had its own. We're just
mhm.
talking about military installations. Like, we should be surprised that after 40 years after it's happened, in the worst kept secret, that these UFOs were turning off nuclear weapons over bases in North Dakota in the 60s and 70s. We already knew that. All right. So
Of
to
course.
see all of this happen all of a sudden, like it's fresh news. To me, it's kind of embarrassing because we're in the field, but the mainstream public may not know. So where do we draw the line on that? Because the experiencers, in my opinion, Eric, and please correct me if I'm wrong, are the ones who are getting ripped off here.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Any experiencer you see, carted around on ufology is useful until they're not. And that's just a terrible way to respect somebody. But yeah, I mean, it goes all the way to the top. It's absolutely ridiculous when it comes to us. It's not addressed. I would definitely want to put my hands on going after something like that. Once my focus can go that direction, but we the people. Heck, wink, wink. There might be a huge thing like Woodstock coming up pretty soon, where we all just show up in one spot with a bunch of media.
Is that a hint? Because I'm
Yes,
thinking
it,
that,
it was pretty direct. Yeah,
hmm.
there could be some things.
At
Yeah,
least wait till the border opens so us Canadians can attend.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But I'm looking at a place in South Carolina where something big might happen, and I hope it does. But it takes participation, so it's not within me to say.
Well, if that
But
happens, you make darn sure that you give us a phone call, man. You make
absolutely.
darn sure, because we will make the way down for that. Absolutely, we will.
Yeah, they they need to lift you guys out of Canada. I hear it's pretty bad right now.
Oh, yeah, it really is. But you know what? The good part about it is the aliens have the ability to get us anywhere. So we're hoping that that happens very, very soon. Eric, we've got about 90 seconds left with you tonight. And I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, this one has been 6 years in the making. And I'm finally glad that we are here to have you on the show. Do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find your research and more information about your experiences.
I actually don't have any published research yet. I do plan on sitting down for at least a year and typing everything together. I usually respond to Facebook. Don't have a website. I don't advertise myself or anything like that. So that's the best way to do it. As far as I can tell, my messenger is blowing up before we ever mentioned that. So I think folks can find their way to me. But yeah, in closing, I would really urge people to think about Nikolai Tesla, how he would do his thought experiments and holding bells in his hands and sitting straight up in a chair until he fell asleep. Once he dropped the bell, it would ring and it would wake him up into the right hemisphere of his brain, leaving his left asleep, where he got information that he claims did not come from him. And now that we're looking into the caudate putamen and basal ganglia, we can understand that communication is somehow happening.
Eric, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Really appreciate you finally coming on the show, and hopefully we get a chance to do it again very, very soon. Eric Mitchell, everybody. You can find him on Facebook. It's pretty easy. Just type in Eric Mitchell UFO. Coming up next, we're going to join Shane in the Shift. We're going to talk some UFOs right across Canada. We got the Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. Great show, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Dave.
Great show. Really appreciate that, man. I know you don't do it often, but I hope this was worth your while.
Oh, definitely. Just to get, tidbits of that information out. There's what happened to me, but the most important part is where we're going to find some evidence of this and go with it.
You got that right. You got that right. Well, let's talk soon, my friend. I unfortunately do have to run because I got to hook up with Vancouver on their feed, but I always appreciate your time, and you're one of the good guys out there, and keep up your great work. Okay.
I appreciate it, man. I'm going to go after the University of Northern Texas here pretty soon, so hopefully that'll pan out pretty well. I'm just looking for the right person.
All right, buddy. You take care.
All right, man. You take care, and I'll be on the show anytime you need me.
Appreciate that. Take care, buddy.
All right.
Good night. That was a good show, people. That was a very, very good show. And Eric doesn't do a lot of interviews. He gets requests all the time. And he's always telling people, hey, Nilbog, how are you doing? He's always telling people, no, he doesn't like that type of exposure. But he came on our show, and goddamn, I'm happy we got him, man. I'm happy we got him. Got to tighten up the sinuses before we go. On the air with Vancouver. They're calling in now. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, it's pretty good. This is Brendan. I'm the new technical producer here on the shift, so it's first time doing this. I just fade you up at 36 here.
Yeah, I'll be around there, sometime around there. Hey, are we not doing the Zoom thing?
We do. We are in a Zoom meeting, like we have. It's the same.
Yeah, because Shane usually brings me in on there. If not, that's okay. I don't mind staying audio.
Okay, let's see. I'll send a message to Shane and I'll let him know. But yeah, my notes just say to have you over the phone
That's
here
fine.
for patching through the board.
That's fine. Let's just keep it this way. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
Cool.
I will. I'm gonna pot you guys down, and I'll be with you after I'm done my break.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, it's the shift time coming up with Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Do. Good show tonight. Solid radio. We did well, people. We did very well tonight. Very well. And happy anniversary, Carl. Happy anniversary. Brad, go for it, man. If that's what you want to do. Brad says, you always kill it, which brings up my next point. You're setting the bar too high. I'm trying to start a podcast. Go for it, man. Just go have fun. Best advice I could give you. Go have fun and don't take it too seriously. There's too many people taking it way too seriously right now. And, some are getting ratings, some are not. Pardon me. Most are not, I should say. And and we will. My idea of it is do what you're going to enjoy doing. That's the best thing. Magnolia, are you at a radio station down in Austin? If you are, hit me up privately. I'll put my email in chat room. Oh, cool. Yeah, just hit me up on my email. Give me a little bit of detail. All right, 20 seconds. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We're going to join Shane and the Shift out of Vancouver right about now.
Spaced Out Radio. There we go. I can hear him. Dave, are you there?
How you doing, Shane?
Good, brother. It's so great to hear your voice. The most pressing question, of course, is your frustration with your beard.
I know.
I know that's not World of the Woo here, but I am curious. How you doing?
I saw how good looking you were when you shaved, so I decided to shave mine. I took some advice from you. But you know, can I celebrate an anniversary with you? A radio anniversary for me in this show? It was 6 years ago tonight, my friend. I was broadcasting, still doing the podcast thing, getting all new into the radio program and doing paranormal radio at night. I was on Blog Talk Radio, and I was sitting outside of my house, or in my house, in my little studio, right by my front door that I had set up in an old bedroom that we had converted into a studio, and I saw something move out of the window. And I'm thinking, crap, someone is at my door. They're going to knock. The dogs are going to be barking. That's terrible radio when you got dogs barking in the background. Problem was, my dogs didn't bark. So I put my microphone on mute. My guest is talking. I swivel my chair over to the window to see who is outside my door and outside my window. And lo and behold, my eyes focus on the darkness outside, and there is a giant gray head with almond-shaped black eyes, a gray alien standing on the other side of my window. That happened 6 years ago tonight, and that's how we got our mascot named Carl.
Carl.
He needed a name.
It sounds like a great name for an alien. Why wouldn't you call him Carl?
Exactly my point.
Wow.
Exactly. 6 years ago tonight.
Has Carl come back to you since, or was it like a one-time visit?
Once in 2018. And I actually... Do you remember the movie Signs? M. Night Shyamalan?
I'm not big on movies.
Okay. Watch M. Night Shyamalan's movie called Signs. It's about ETs and aliens coming down. Mel Gibson's in it. Joaquin Phoenix. But during that movie, there's a famous shot of a kid crawling on top of the car, and he's got this baby monitor, and he hears this sound, this type of sound, like they're talking over the baby monitor. The last time that Carl was at my house, I actually heard a conversation up my driveway and in my backyard of this. Kind of weird. That's serious woo right there, Shane. Serious woo.
That's real. Like, in the real world of the land of the woo, right there. Well, it's great to hear your voice, buddy.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here on the program to chat and visit. I love this part, and the audience loves this part of the program too. So, where do you want to go here today? We chatted about it. We sort of shared with the audience about new sightings and new videos about the UFOs. So, do you want to go there first, or do you have a different idea?
No, we can go wherever you want to go. Do you want to go to the American report or the Canadian report?
Let's start with the Canadian one first, then we'll go down south.
Okay, you know how we've talked numerous times on this segment that you do about how the Canadian military never admits to anything. It's like we're boring. We're boring when it comes to UFOs. Well, in Vice magazine last week, there was a major article put up about Canada's military is being notified when pilots are reporting in UFOs in Canadian airspace. Now, this is something that I have been digging into, and I know others have been digging into this as well. And I've actually talked to some former CF-18 pilots and current pilots about this, and they don't want to talk about it at all. The answer I usually get is, I'd rather not, or nope, never happened to me. Don't know what you're talking about. There is no protocol. But apparently, we go back to January 6, 2019. And this was a report that was first got by a good friend of ours, Ryan Stacy, from the Experiencers Support Association out of Ontario. And he got this piece of paper through a FOIA request. Vice later on was able to confirm it and do a story on it, that there was a medical transport flight flying over northern Manitoba, that reported an inexplicable bright light that was following them in the sky at the same altitude and the same speed. Now, this happened just before sunrise. So they called into air traffic controllers in Winnipeg, who immediately got a hold of CFB North Bay in Ontario, so that way they could dispatch a couple of Canadian Armed Forces jets to try and intercept this craft. Now, the official documents say that this is listed as unidentified aerial phenomena, which we're hearing so much about out of the United States. And I'm going to quote from this article here. It says, the document confirms that the Government of Canada, the Royal Canadian Air Force, and seemingly NORAD have a process for reporting sightings of both unidentified and identified flying craft. Now, this quote was made by a gentleman named Professor Timothy Sale out of the University of Toronto's International Relations program. So this is starting to get attention up here. However, once again, no follow-up with any politicians, and the two CF-18s that were able to intercept this craft, they were in the sky, and they followed it for about 3 minutes. It was heading towards, or the flight was heading towards Thompson, Manitoba, and the object, whatever it was, disappeared. Just vanished in the sky. NAV Canada is where all the UFO reports in Canada seem to be going, and they seem to be taking real interest in this subject, and we knew that going into the past, that they don't talk about this, but they do have a certain section there. Transport Canada is also involved on the UFO front. So we're starting to make some headways and opening up some doors here in trying to figure out what is Canada's protocol when it comes to UFOs being sighted in our airspace.
So what are they supposed to do? I mean, if it just sort of vanishes, do they take pictures? Like, do they? I mean, I don't even know, where would you start?
Well, I mean, you have to build a report. So the report automatically comes in through air traffic control, who patches it through to NAV Canada, patches it through to the military, which is obviously set through NORAD. All right, that I did know. And if you recall the report of the RCMP that I told you about a long time ago, I knew that the minute a call comes into the RCMP regarding UFOs, NORAD is immediately contacted. Immediately. And they try to scramble the first two closest CF-18 Hornets to try and intercept the craft, whatever it may be. That's exactly what's happened here with this this latest report that's out. This is apparently happening a lot more frequently than it is. Whether or not those CF-18 pilots are getting any gun camera footage of these craft, we don't know yet. Canada really doesn't have a real long history of releasing military operations via camera. You know, you don't even really see them on YouTube, pilots just putting their own stuff on there. We don't allow that because what we don't want to talk about, we don't talk about it. That's the way it is. But the information, thanks to what's happening in the United States, is starting to come out. There is more interest in it. We just got to open the door.
Okay, so that's a very natural place to sort of say this is kind of like, I would assume for your UFO people, that the smoking gun, at least you would think, to start getting information, but still a little bit of info, but not a lot of info. So let's go down to the American story, because that footage that has come out down there is being reported as the best ever. So is there any more answers that are being publicly shared from the UFO story down south?
Well, apparently tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, a gentleman named Jeremy Corbell is going to be releasing more information about incidents that are happening with the United States Navy. That's the latest news that we are hearing. Corbell also last week released a video that everybody has seen of the triangle taken from an American warship that was off the coast of San Diego, California. That incident taking place in the summer of 2019. So the interesting part about these triangles and that video, I totally believe that it is real. I know there is great debate whether it's a video phenomena called bokeh that pushes everything into a triangle, makes stars look like a triangle when it's out of focus. There's a lot of debate going on, typical UFO skepticism that we see happening. But this video is probably the closest that we have to actual real UFO footage that we've seen. And most people, if you've been surfing the internet on every major news site, they've been talking about this video. It's been shown on television. And Jeremy Corbell, I think, did a great job of bringing that out. And he's got more information. And Jeremy's really tied to Las Vegas investigative journalist George Knapp, who, as you know, 31 years ago, or 32 years ago now, helped break the story of Bob Lazar, who said he was working on spacecraft at Area 51. So it's all tied together. The information is coming out. Everything is building to June 25th. That's when the big report from the 180 days has to be released by the United States government in regards to what they know about UFOs. Now, we're not going to get a lot of juice there, Shane. We're not going to get a lot of juice. We're probably going to get a lot of pulp, but there's not going to be a lot of juice there.
Now, is that just sort of, I guess, the history speaking for itself of what's going to come out of this? I mean, those pictures are pretty telling. I mean, the triangles in the photos, and they're easy to find, but there are all kinds of videos and, you know, these sort of triangle pyramid things.
I like that. That's good scientific terminology there.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm not the scientist here. There's no filter on Snapchat that's going to make those things be in those photos, right? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, they look legitimately strange in the sky, and they don't look like something that we see every day. So it also takes a couple of years for even this video to come out. So, I mean, how do you chase that?
Well, the only thing that you can do is take their word for it. Now, with this latest video of Jeremy Corbell's, it has been confirmed by the Pentagon and their spokesperson, Susan Goff, as being authentic, that this is unidentified aerial phenomena that we are seeing. I expect a few more of these types of videos to come out before June 25th and even after June 25th. But we have to realize, too, that with the American government, they can cover up absolutely anything. Any country can. We can do it here in Canada if we use the terminology national security. So we're not going to get the good stuff. We're not going to find out what happened at Roswell in 1947. We're not going to find out what happened in Phoenix on January March 13th, 1997. We're not going to find out what happened at Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia on October 3rd, 1967. We're not going to find out that juice. We want it, but I mean, if you think about it, if they do have downcraft, if they do have alien bodies, or even live aliens hanging out at Area 51, maybe there's an alien bar there. I don't know. I hope so, right? Because that's a bar I would like to go to. If they do have that, they are not going to give it up for national security. They absolutely will not. Remember, there's 7.8 billion people on this planet, and a very small amount of those people are actually ready for any type of extraterrestrial presence.
You concerned that it takes a couple of years for these videos to air quotes be leaked? Because I mean, this particular video was a couple of years old, and then it got leaked out and got into the hands of the reporter. So, is that concerning in the study of all this?
Well, I think they're being leaked for a reason, because from what I'm hearing, there's a great debate going on at the Pentagon and in Washington, D.C. as to whether or not to bring this information out. Half the side wants it all out. Let's just tell the people. Tell them what we know. The other half is like, no, can't do that. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about religion. They're worried about suicides. Well, how is this going to affect absolutely everything? This is what I'm hearing in the background. That's the big key right there. So the people who want it out are getting out what they can. The people who don't want it, well, they're trying to put the brakes on everything because they don't want the story out. You got to realize, and your audience needs to realize, whether they believe in this phenomena or not, there's some real big shots in Washington, D.C. right now who are having this conversation. And they want to know, what is our role? What are we doing about it? What can we do about it? Is this phenomena stoppable? Is it a threat? And people need to start paying attention, because this is a story, Shane, that is not going away.
I agree with you there. I always wonder why. I mean, if I saw one today, the very first thing I would do would be to text it to you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you could contain that, right? I don't know how you could contain that excitement of going, oh my God, you won't believe what I saw. In today's social media world, how it doesn't come out sooner. But I guess, you've sort of shared the politics behind getting exposed and kind of getting beat up by it all online if you just throw it out there. So, I get that part too. So it's got to be hard to navigate, dude.
It very much is. But here's the question that needs to be asked. I know we're running out of time. Why now? After 70 years of cover-up since Roswell, why now? There's no reason to bring it out. There's no reason to say that we need to get this to the public after 70 years of cover-ups. There's no reason for the videos. There's no reason for the Navy to talk unless something is about to go down. And my belief on it is something is going to go down. We just don't know what. So the big question that everybody needs to ask, every journalist needs to ask, is why now?
That's a great point. Dave Scott, spacedoutradio.com. Check out his stuff. He's got the podcast and the show. David, it's great to hear your voice, brother.
We'll talk
much fun. Thanks.
We'll talk to you next month, my friend.
Why now?
Let's get to the news, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the thievery. Here in Delium, Alberta. It's not often police can report that a unicorn has been found, but it was the truth this past Saturday when RCMP said a stolen stainless steel statue of the mythical beast was found in a farmer's field not far from where it was taken. According to Jane McCullen, co-owner of Hand Hills Crafts in Delia, Morgan, the mystical unicorn, had stood embedded in the ground with spikes outside the business for 2 years and had become a bit of a tourist attraction. But one day, The unicorn ran away. RCMP issued a news release saying the statue was found about 15 kilometers from the village, damaged with its bronze-colored horn broken off. The release said the police are still looking for suspects. Who breaks a unicorn's horn off? That's just terrible. The Suez Canal getting blocked by cargo ships has been one of the biggest screw-ups in recent memory. The whole fiasco brought a good portion of global trade to a screeching halt. With the canal clogged, ships carrying goods and materials that couldn't get to their destinations, well, kind of put a damper on a number of things, don't you think, around the world? But in the UK, they might have had the worst. We haven't seen a gnome in 6 months, unfortunately. Ian Byrne, assistant manager of Highfield Garden World store. Yeah, there aren't any gnomes. There's definitely a shortage of gnomes. Since gnomes aren't coming in from abroad, this seems to be like a good time for British gnome makers to step up their production, right? Well, no such luck. Apparently, nobody's making gnomes anymore in Britain, or Ireland for that matter. And finally tonight, many people can't get anything done without their morning cup of coffee. There are a few things better than sweet caffeine and the rush you get. Well, you could definitely have too much of a good thing, though. According to this person, they went a little too far. A 21-year-old UK university student literally almost died over caffeine. Nothing unusual for college students to be busting their butts using energy drinks to stay alive and to stay awake. It all contains about 160 milligrams each drink of caffeine. Problem is, for this one student, he ended up at the hospital with a heart attack. Yeah, heart failure, apparently, if you drink too much energy drink. So if you're a student out there, lay off the Red Bull. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Today's Thought of the Dave, it's the 6th anniversary of Carl the Alien showing up. Tell me about your encounter. We got time for one. Mary Beth gets the time. A few years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, had to use the restroom. When I woke up and walked out of the restroom, I noticed a light in the front office. I went into the room. There was a beautiful green light that filled the room. I went to the window and looked outside to see an emergency vehicle at the neighbors. Well, apparently there were 5 feet tall beings hanging out in her front yard. It wasn't an emergency vehicle. She got aliens. And let's go to Bobby. I once saw a humanoid-shaped transparent distortion running through my friend's living room. Not sure if it was an alien, but it definitely wasn't human. We'll get to more Thought of the Daves next time. Big thank you to everyone participating. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, Shane in the Shift, and to Eric Mitchell for hanging out telling us about his alien stories. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, and Derek and the Starkettes hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we're watching. We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's a hell of a show, people. Hell of a show. What am I putting my microphone up there for? My goodness. Wrong with you, Dave? You still need that damn microphone, man. 2 seconds. All right. Let's go like that. Go like that. Close that out. Close that out. So open. No, wrong button, damn it. Wrong button. Close that. Close. And where are you guys? There you are. Wagon Breath, thank you so much for that super chat, my beautiful friend. Really appreciate that. And I saw some other people in here. By the way, welcome. Ayaz, how you doing? Super Quest, good to see you, buddy. How's your night going? Who else showed up? I saw Dolly in here earlier while I was doing the show there. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. Oh, Saul Manuel. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Star A, nice to see you. It's been a while. I think that I got everybody. D. Swiger. I hate it when I miss people. I really do. Rise heading out to the 24-hour bingo parlor to go check out what's happening. Magnus Zerum, how are you? Why now? Maybe the old guard died. Very possible, my friend. Very possible. I totally miss you, Rye. Totally miss you. Word. Wagon breadth. Word. You got to admit, that was a great show tonight. Great show. That was very impressive. It really was. Let's just be honest. Tomorrow night on the show, we got Merle and Nick T. White. He was on television for the on A&E, I believe, or the Travel Channel, doing the not Blair Witch, Bell Witch. Done some other TV work. So it's all paranormal tomorrow night. Merle is back, people. The Merle is back. I mean, if you can't get excited for a little bit of Merling, right? You just can't get excited. There's just no way you can get excited. There's nothing to get excited about if you can't get excited for a night of Merle. Because you know, he'll probably say 6 words every half an hour. But God damn it, that's going to be some powerful 6 words. Believe you me. You don't mess with the Merle stuff. Merle. Just say it with me. Hey, Dolly, you're loving the new look? I'm loving your new look. Do you have a new look? Am I wrong on that? Could you please confirm? I would appreciate that. Let's see. Gorgeous Larry. There he is. Gorgeous Larry, everyone. Larry, how you hold it out? Please give us an update. We'd appreciate that. Morrow. Good night, wagon bread. Just can't say that word. Bread. How long are you supposed to for? By the way, wagon breadth, I've actually heard people use the word breadth like 3 times in the last week and a half. Don't know if you're still listening or not. You may have already pissed on out of here. Try to talk like Dave. Trying to talk like Dave. What do you mean by that? What did I do? Cat, why? What do you mean by that? I need to speak to my business lawyer to change the company name. Let's go there. That's that one. This can be SOR2. Merle. Exactly, Katie. Merle. So, do it like you would a cow. Moo. Now change it to Merle. 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 Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Merle. Merle. Merly, 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 Merly. Yeah, Grandmaster, he's seen quite a bit, dude. It was a good experience. Good experience. Hey, Steam Train Mark, how you doing, buddy? How's later today looking? Yeah, I got a face for radio too, Brad. Also a voice for print. Not gonna lie. Oh, no, that ain't it. That's it right there, you dirty bastard trying to steal one on me here. Well, there you go, Katie. You're all prepared for tomorrow night now. So when Merle comes in, you know, when Merle comes in, then you can hammer him with some Merles. Merle. Red. Exclamation point times 4. Red. Did I do that again? Son of a gun. Did I? No, I did not. Yes, I did not screw up. Very nice, Dave. Very nice. I thought I'd screwed up, but apparently I hadn't. And I'm pretty proud over that. Now we could continue editing. I'm pretty happy about our ratings at Saga 960 in Ontario. Very nice, Duke. Very nice enunciation there on the spelling. Merle. Very nice. I wonder if Merle's awake. Let's see if he's awake. Let's see. Merle, where are you? Leave that page. Merle around. Are you awake? We're practicing our Merles with the audience on YouTube for tomorrow night. Let's see if Merle responds to that. Right, that's 4. See if he responds. Night, Magnolia. Not Moo Earl. Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate that. Not Moo Earl. Merle. Merle. I think Merle's sleeping. I have to tell him to come back and listen to this one. One of these days, we're going to have to record a bunch of people saying Merle. I'll get you to send it to me and I'll edit it all together. That would be kind of funny, actually. Not going to lie. Betty White is not Canadian, but she does share the same birthday as my daughter, which is January 17th. Oh, yeah. Vin wore a Merle necklace. He wore a Merle necklace. Oh, yeah. Merle's favorite wine is Merlot. If he was an exotic dancer, he'd be dancing Merlesque. You know, the Merly bird gets the worm. Right. Did I get all of those? Yes, I did. Cool. Hey, if you're in one of the 121 who are watching and not in our chat room, come say hello. Come hang out with us. Seriously, come hang out with us and come let us know where you're from. We always appreciate getting to know where people are from. We're nice people here. We're kind of kind. We try to be kind. Come join us. He is totally mechanically inclined. Oh, you're from Spokane-ish area. Magnus, we got a bunch of people from your area who follow this show. Going to trim the shortened Merleys. Very nice, Fap. Let's see. Dolly, does Canada really have a sign that says, don't let moose lick your car when snowing? No, there are no official signs like that I have ever seen, but moose are very, very susceptible to licking your cars because they're actually doing it to get the salt off. So in the wintertime, when your car is or your vehicle is covered in salt, the moose will come up and lick it. Vin, what does that mean? Yeah, we won't be talking like that, dude. He's not fake. Getting a little Merly on the britches there, Vin. Yes. Fabster, he also likes to go merling on the pebbled ice. Do I simulcast here in Indiana? Not that I know of. I would love to get a radio station in Indiana. Absolutely. You know why? Because Indiana is the home of Axl Rose, as well as Izzy Stradlin and DJ Ashba. Ed Clador is from West Virginia. I've actually been to your state. We like Ed Clador around here. Good Ed Clador. Hey, Raul, what's going on? Eva. John Mellencamp has to figure out his name before he figures out anything. God, I don't know how that guy ever made it. I really don't. Not a fan. Not a fan of him or Bruce Springsteen. They drive me nuts. The minute they come on the satellite radio in my vehicle, I can't change the channel fast enough. Thank you, Fast Hemi. I live too, Raul. Look at me. I live too. Oh, totally, Fapster. Totally. Vin's the kind of guy who literally wants to be the man who carries John Mellencamp's guitar case. And I'm sorry, was there anything... Did anybody really think that Bruce Springsteen was tough when he was dressed in all the jean jacket, hammering his Fender guitar with the bandana on during the Born in the USA video? Like, Bruce, you're not tough. You're like a $130 wet. The only thing you can beat the shit out of is the strings on your guitar. No, I didn't get abducted last night. You know, you aren't kicking ass. You aren't going into the audience to beat people up. All right? You're not doing that. Hey, Andrew. Not a fan. And for us older people out there, just so you know, Debbie Gibson is going to be singing on a new track with DJ Ashba, formerly of Guns N' Roses, on his hip hop rock crossover music thing that he's doing. Debbie Gibson. I saw a video on his Instagram about it, and oh my god, my 30-year crush has been reignited. I'm not gonna lie, she is looking good. She's got to be like 50. We're gonna Google that in a second. How old is Debbie Gibson? She's 50. She's 50. My god, is she still single too? Hold on a second here. Oh, and she still looks hot. Honestly, she still looks hot. Oh, I have a crush on her still. Rye, 100%. 100% Rye. Strong comment right there. God, I can't believe she's 50. So she's born in 71. Got to be it. Born in 71? 70. She'll be 51 this year. You know, there's another smoke show. It's Tiffany. She aged well as well. Yeah, her Wikipedia is showing no husband. Hold on. Let's make sure. Scroll down. Personal life. All right. She was once engaged. I think she's single. I think Debbie Gibson is single. National Memorial, how are you? Oh, yeah, the Bangles. The Bangles. Now, their lead singer, Susanna Hoff, is like a smoke show for being 60. Susanna Hoff is incredibly good looking. You know who's looking old these days? Speaking of old, John Bon Jovi. He looks like he is, turning into. You take that horrible hairdo he now has. Okay? You take that horrible hairdo he has, and if you were to bowl cut that, he would look like Mr. Burns. You could see him getting up on stage. Excellent. Bon Jovi is excellent. Jupiter, welcome to our chat room. How you doing? Join in the conversation. It's all good here. Got good people in here. If you note sarcasm, all I can say is just throw it back at these people, especially Fap and Vince and Rye. Rye actually has a wooden leg with a kickstand. Vince looks like Beavis with that underbite. And Fap, well, that's Butthead. Ba ba da ba 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 ba. Ah. Oh no, no, stop that. That's wrong. No, no, no. Get rid of that. Don't want this one. I screwed up. All right. Done. Upload folder. Desktop. AZAX. There we go. Thank you. That one's done. That one's done. That's not done. Brad Forsey, you have a good night at work, man. Merle. Katie's all excited about Merle tomorrow night. I've come to the conclusion on something that I make a damn good salad. I've had salad 3 nights in a row, and I'm actually enjoying it. Dave, what do you know about Bigfoot? I know some stuff. I've seen 2 of them. Been chased out of the forest by 2 of them. Heard one of them talking. Good night, Fast Hemi. Appreciate you, buddy. I have seen Bigfoot. No, dude. Day 3. Today was day 3. Warden Dragon, how you doing? Sally Vandevoorde. If you shave Bigfoot's butt, would it have cellulite? Probably. We'll try that with FAP first to see how much cellulite there would actually be. It's a good scientific study. Pretty much straight across there. John Ballerman, how you doing, man? Really? Grandma Rose's birthday is this Saturday. We're going to have to call her. We'll call her on Saturday. I'm off the air, but I promise you I will call her on Saturday. Just get me a phone number and remind me. Excuse me. Working. Finally. The question is, for her 97th birthday, will Grandma Rose remember me? I don't know. I'm getting sleepy. Good night, Bombshell Bomber. Yeah, maybe Friday night we'll bring Grandma Rose back on. I will do that. Yeah, Friday night we'll do it. Grandma Rose is Fapster's grandma, who is turning 97, and she's a fan of the show. All right. All right, tomorrow night, once again, we got Merle and Nick T. White. All right. And we're going to be talking Ghosts of the Great White North Merle is back. So big thank you once again to Wagon Breath, Anya, Rye, Jules, Peace Angel, aka Ange, Greg, Melinda, Holly, Science Bob, Brett, and Ed for the super chats tonight. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Hey, Rachmaninoff, how you doing, buddy? Moosehead, good to see you from down under, even though you don't have moose there. We got moose up here in Canada, though, but we're all part of the Commonwealth, so they're like Australian moose, and we'll share your great white sharks and koala bears. You can keep the fucking snakes, though. Just saying, and the crocodiles and the spiders. Yeah, keep those three. For the rest of them, we can hang out. Tomorrow night, once again, Merle and Nick T. White goes to the Great White North. Big thank you to everybody who is new and hit that subscribe button tonight. And for all our veterans out there tuning on in, thank you so much for doing everything that you guys do. You're all heroes to us here at Spaced Out Radio. Thank you, and much love to each and every one of you. Vinster says, Grandmaster, we love you. I want to give you a kiss on your forehead. That's so nice of you, Vin. So nice of you. But we'll talk to you guys all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Have some fun, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night.